Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
If this drama at the Philadelphia Eagles prevents them from winning a Super Bowl, that is going to go down as one of the all-time most pathetic things that I've seen in a while. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie. Great, Andrew Perloff. And Pearl, I know this is close to you. This is the team you root for, you grew up rooting for. It's near and dear to your heart. But as an outsider, I love this if I'm the Detroit Lions. I love this if I'm the Minnesota Vikings or whatever other NFC contender you think exists out there. I love seeing Philadelphia just burn internally from the inside out. If you're just getting up to speed, it's some drama between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts that was brought to light by former All-Pro Brandon Graham, who's a part of the team, is a leader of the team, was on the Super Bowl team, but is on injured reserve right now.
Yeah, so I don't understand, though. Let me ask you a couple questions, some background. How long do you think this has been going on?
Like 2 years.
Right. So, obviously, what is A.J. Brown, who's a huge part of this, obviously the main part of this.
Yeah, he's the
What
main.
is his record when he's on the field this year, Maggie?
Well, what's the record of the team?
When he is on the field, they are 10-0.
Okay.
So, obviously, there is no problem whatsoever. In fact, if that's a result of this tension, that he cannot be beat when he's on the field, then bring me more tension.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting way to look at it, considering what we saw last season.
Well, last year, the defense fell apart.
Okay.
What does that have to do with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts not getting along?
Well, because I think that on the field, yes, the defense fell apart, but we've learned after the fact that there were a lot of things wrong in Philadelphia in terms of personalities, in terms of culture, in terms of locker room, all that stuff in an ESPN expose about how Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts didn't get along. And we know A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts had an issue last year. And while the record last year on paper was gaudy, 11-6, team got off to a 10-1 start, but there were, yes, a lot of factors, personalities being one of them last year that ultimately doomed the team right around this time when things started to really go south.
I don't see it that way. I think they had old defensive backs. And honestly, when Sam Howell is torching you for 400 yards on a regular basis, if you caught a screen pass, like Kevin Byard wasn't tackling anybody,
Sure.
Slay wasn't tackling anybody, Bradbury should have been out of the NFL. Like they could not stop anybody on defense. So Jalen Hurts would get the ball after a 9-minute drive and have no opportunity. So the offense fell apart in large parts, in my mind, because the defense fell apart. And the coordinators were awful last year. They put in Matt Patricia.
Oh, I know. They had to get rid of everybody. There was major house cleaning, but also there had to be, this was the whole thing about Sirianni. We talked about this even yesterday with our former boss, Spike Eskin, who hosts Afternoons in Philly. If you're Nick Sirianni, he called this weekend the most critical, most important game that he's ever coached. Because if you're not going to call the offense and you're not going to call the defense, and you're not going to be the special teams, you've got to be the vibes guy. And having this come to light in this way kind of can only go one of two ways, right? It can either help the team and clear the air between two star players, or it's just going to make it way worse.
I don't see that. I didn't agree with Spike about that at all. I think that this game is almost irrelevant because they're pinned into the number 2 seed. Because if they win the NFC East, they get the 2 seed because the other division winners are not going to catch them. And they're not going to catch the Lions because the Lions have the tiebreaker advantage. They're 1 win ahead. So what difference does it make how they play against Pittsburgh? Because the whole thing comes down to how do they cover all the Lions' weapons and can they establish Saquon? What difference does it make if Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are getting along? These are very important football assignments here. They're obviously playing their gut, play as hard as they can. They're obviously super effective together. What's the difference if they don't like each other afterwards?
Well, I would say that was a scare that the Carolina Panthers put into them last week. Are you sure they're playing the best they can? Are you sure they're giving all? Because first of all, they always get off to these really bad starts. It's been historic of how bad they've been in first quarters. Yeah. Why are they so unprepared for such a great team? And listen, I'd rather be a good fourth quarter team than first quarter team. I get it.
Right.
But why are they getting off to these slow starts? And two, this is what I don't love. I don't love in a sport that is such a team sport where we talk about culture and you can think it's overrated or underrated, but I know we all love watching those Dan Campbell interviews and we credit culture for a lot of the and talent for a lot of the turnaround that happened in Detroit. I just don't know how anyone can say, Our quarterback and star receiver, who the receiver, by the way, is not afraid to say anything after a game, even after a win, to air his grievances, this is no problem. Oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl with these two dudes not getting along even after wins? Like, that just doesn't square to me for a team sport.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, they're obviously not the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Detroit looks amazing, but I think they're playing. I don't totally agree with you about the culture of that team either. Like I watch it. Like you watch the lineman, watch a Lane Johnson interview. Like this team definitely has a good culture. There's so many veterans. I guess his AJ Brown-Jalen Hurts thing. Honestly, that was on Sirianni. Like the Panthers game being close, he refused to pass the ball. He just would not drop back and throw the football. It was bizarre. He's like, well, it's just the Panthers. They don't scare us. So he kept running into the line, and it was a terrible offensive coaching. And I kind of agree with Sirianni. I'm not sure A.J. Brown was totally just talking about Jalen Hurts. Like, his number was not called by the coaching staff at all on Sunday against the Panthers. So I think he was super frustrated. But I don't see this as a defining factor for the Eagles at all. Like, you think they're giving less than 100% out there?
Well, I saw them basically by the skin of their teeth almost lose to the Panthers. And
but
so did the Chiefs.
They literally beat up the Ravens the week before. That was one game before.
Yeah.
They pounded the Baltimore Ravens of all teams. John Harbaugh is Baltimore Ravens. They out-toughed them. They out-pushed them. They threw them around the field.
Okay, and so why is anyone complaining then after a win?
Because A.J. Brown didn't get any targets.
Who cares? Why should he
Every
care?
wide receiver in the history of the NFL has done the same exact thing, from Jerry Rice to T.O. to actually maybe Larry Fitzgerald didn't complain.
I don't think he did.
But
He's
definitely,
nice.
I guarantee every receiver is always upset when he's totally frozen out of the offense.
And you know what a lot of them do after wins? They actually have the discipline not to say it.
Well,
after wins, Perloff, this is where, and it's not just this year, it's going back to last year. If it was just this year, I don't even think this is that big of a story, quite frankly, because you're right. A lot of people think wide receivers are just divas, and A.J. Brown may fall into that category.
Well, definitely.
Okay, but this is, again, why did Brandon Graham, whose character is unassailable in Philadelphia and in the NFL, why did he feel the need to go on a sports talk radio show and say these two guys have a conflict? It's personal. No one's talking about it, so I'm going to bring it to the surface. Like, I can't tell if that's indicative of a good culture or bad culture. I think Brandon Graham had his reasons, but you can't tell me that it's not, that it's nothing. I don't want to hear that it's nothing.
What do you see? I mean, I understand the Panthers game, but generally watching the Eagles this year, do you see like any results of a bad culture? They feel like a very physical, engaged team.
Well, that's why the A.J. Brown stuff is so alarming, because you actually have a shot this year. I thought it did feel like you exercised a lot of the demons from last year. And now all of a sudden, after a win, when you're 11-2, here comes a $30 million receiver who's like, I'm unhappy.
Right.
It's not great.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Would you change the Eagles Super Bowl odds if you were setting the line?
I'm just changing them in my mind. I'm downgrading them in my mind, but I'm not Vegas, but I'm downgrading them in my mind. I am, because, I see the Lions, who last year had, one of the worst losses, right? Let's call it what it was. That NFC Championship game was just brutal. You have the lead, you give it away. They haven't cracked a scintilla, They feel as together as ever. And
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, Jameson Williams' personal foul against the Bears, I feel like the Eagles probably are less vulnerable to stupid plays than the Lions.
But I don't see them after games complaining about targets. If Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't get his 6 catches, I don't see him afterwards saying, Jared Goff, like, what the hell are you doing, man? I just don't think that exists there, and it does exist with the Eagles.
I feel it's so funny. Like, I think on paper I think the Lions are a better football team. I think the Eagles are a more mature football team, and that might, at the end of the day, that's the only chance the Eagles have, is that the Lions will implode. I do not see the same problems you do at all.
Wow. I don't think what A.J. Brown did was mature. I
feel like Jameson Williams is going to get a taunting penalty that's going to hurt the line. Something's going to happen. Like, when you watch them on the team, like, the Eagles honestly are not as talented as the Lions. There's just no way. But I do think the Eagles maximize their talent. They're going to ball control with Saquon, and they're going to play tough defense, which they did not have last year. Thank God they got a back four to, like, at least compete. Yeah, I think the Eagles are closer to maximizing their talent than the Lions. Like, the Lions worry me. Like, they're the ones who I feel is a little unhinged. They're the best team. The Eagles, I understand this Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown thing, but honestly, like, what's wrong with it? I like it a little bit.
Okay, well, here's the other part, too. And you're welcome to weigh in at 855-212-4227. Is this Eagles drama really opened the door for the Lions? You thought, or any other team in the NFC that you think is a contender, you thought that Dan Campbell's risky fourth down decisions opened the door for the Eagles.
Yeah, I like that one, too. As an Eagles fan.
I think that the Eagles drama keeps the door propped open, if you will, for the Lions. But one other thing about A.J. Brown complaining after a win that the passing game is not fixed. So we'll play you some clips here from Nick Sirianni. So Nick Sirianni has to talk about it. Your offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, has to talk about it. All the guys on the offense have to talk about it. So what are you going to do here? Because Saquon Barkley has clearly been this force for the Eagles this season, right?
Sure.
He's been everything you could have hoped for and more.
Right.
Does now A.J. Brown complaining, does he now become the squeaky wheel that gets the oil? And does Kellen Moore, who said yesterday we will try to find a way to, find more opportunities for A.J. Brown. So now I got to think about the feelings of my wide receiver. And I probably, a lot of offense coordinators probably deal with this behind the scenes, but now I got to deal with it in a fishbowl that is Philadelphia, in a team full of stars with massive expectations, with a quarterback who, quite frankly, doesn't say a lot. He's not one of those rah-rah QBs who's just going to take hold of the locker room in that way. He shows more by his play. He's more of a leader by example. And a coach who I think at times acts like a clown. So I don't think that they're set up right now to deal with any kind of major waves. Like they had been riding some good wins here, and it turns out there was something simmering below the surface with these two guys.
Well, let me ask you a question. When the Eagles were 2-2 back in the beginning of the season, they lost 33-16 to the Bucs. What was your take on Nick Sirianni then?
Clown.
So do you think were you surprised that he won the next 9 games?
A little bit, because I thought the antics with the shaved head and the weird things that he's barking at his own fans. Like,
could you admit you might have been wrong about him then?
No, I think I'm actually right, because again, the wins they had never actually cleared the air of what was clearly a holdover from last year.
I don't know. Then how'd they win 9 straight games?
Well, how'd they win 10, go start 10-1 the year before, and then they all fell apart? I
think there was a few personnel reasons, and the coaching staff was so bad last year. Honestly, I think they just sort of muscled away. But again, if the coaching staff
was so bad, how'd they get off to a 10-1 start?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, eventually the defense just crumbled. There was also a couple injuries, but honestly, you bring up a good point. If I'm the coaching staff, I'm toning down Saquon big time. But you're not going to jump the Lions to the number 1 seed. So why am I using my super back? I'm giving him 10 carries in both these games. I don't care if we lose to the Steelers. You got Washington, Dallas, Giants. The only chance that you're going to have trouble, you're 11-2, and the Commanders are 8-5. As long as you keep ahead of them, you're fine. So yes, you better start throwing the ball to A.J. Brown and stop giving it to Saquon all the time. I'm a little bit worried about the wear and tear on him. He's getting more touches than anyone in the NFL. Why are you doing that? That's a much bigger concern to me than Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Clearly, an angry A.J. Brown is a darn good player. I would keep that hornet's nest flying.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, though, right? Coach K used to say this about Christian Laettner or whatever. It's like if you fuel him properly, he'll heat the whole building. And if you fuel him improperly, he's going to burn the building to the ground. And that's on the coach to understand each player and to make sure you're with guys like that who are kind of hot, maybe play better when they're frustrated or play better when they're angry. And that's not a crime. But it's on the coach to make sure that doesn't cross over into the burn it down territory. And we're getting kind of close to the burn it down. The fact that you and I are sitting here talking about it, the fact that Brandon Graham had to go on Philadelphia radio to air it out, I think we're getting closer to the burn it down than we are controlling it, are we not?
Oh my God, the exact opposite. They're the hottest this team has been. Even during the Super Bowl run, they weren't playing this well. This is the best version of the Eagles I've seen in a long, long time. They beat the Rams easily. I mean, they pounded the Rams. So the Rams are probably a top 5 in talent team in the NFL. They killed the Ravens. Everything. The Panthers game, they were dead asleep for.
Yeah.
They had been reading their own headlines all week. That was very clear. That was a nice wake-up call. They'll probably drop this game in the Steelers because they have no incentive to win this game.
Let's listen to Nick Sirianni. He's the head coach of the Eagles on the relationship between 1 and 11, between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
I have more information. I see them every single day. I see what's going on in the building. And so you just have, to me, we know what there's going to be noise, and I get and I obviously get it, just based off of what's happened here in the last couple of days. But I go on my daily relationships with these guys, with myself. I go on the daily relationships that I see every single day.
Well, if Brandon Graham is also seeing the relationships, because yes, he's rehabbing, but he's in the building and he's a legendary Eagle. He will be in the Ring of Honor or whatever they call it. He has a Hall of Fame resume, all that stuff. He's also seeing the relationship, and he's seeing that these two dudes have had personal beef that goes back to last season. So, head coach, you can say, I'm on top of it. I know everything that's going on, but Brandon Graham would suggest otherwise, no?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, again, I'm not sure why Brandon Graham did that, but don't you think this happens on every team? You don't think Deebo Samuel was complaining during all the good Niners years?
Yeah, and do we say that that's awesome? Are we like, wow, Deebo, good for you? No, we're like, come on, Kyle Shanahan, get it together.
The only reason they didn't win a Super Bowl is because it had nothing to do with Deebo Samuel being mad. Like, yeah, I think this happens on teams all the time. I think there's tension on all good teams. And the other thing, too, is, again, like, I look at the Eagles' issues when they're facing the Lions. Like, whether A.J. Brown is mad is kind of small potatoes. Listen, you are a Bills fan, and I saw Diggs yelling at Josh Allen.
And
on
what
the
did
sideline.
they do?
They were the hottest they've been in 5 years.
But what happened?
They just they got into a gunfight with the Chiefs where the Chiefs got the ball last. Like, that was like an amazing result for the Bills. That tension didn't hurt the team at all.
The Bills took the biggest dead cap hit, non-quarterback edition, to get Stephon Diggs up on out of there.
I just don't think there's really an example of a team winning a Super Bowl with a receiver who's
openly
going crazy.
Like, openly mad at the quarterback.
We asked a question last night, and I've been thinking about it since. I can't think of one.
Like, openly mad.
Right.
And listen, there's a chance they get past it. There's a chance that Brandon Graham will be the person who, like, change their relationship forever. Yeah. And they, you know how guys are. Like, you guys come together, you hate each other, you come together, you clear the air.
Oh, my God. You guys really think,
happens.
like, so this relationship, you don't think, like, Jalen Carter's performance against the Lions is less important than this drama? Like, this is like a football game. This is 11 on 11, and there's all sorts of strategy, and, like, there's so much stuff going on. Like, who cares if these two guys don't get along?
Well, because that's the thing about football. Yes, it's about X's and O's, but it's about more than that, right? It's about a togetherness, and I don't think that you love to see two guys, highly paid, high profile, team is invested in both of them, and they are not in sync.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the results speak differently. Very obvious.
But A.J. Brown's not satisfied with those results. The winning is not satisfying this guy.
So
you're satisfied as a fan, but that's not what's going on in the building.
I hope he is mad and angry and not satisfied and carrying that Lombardi trophy in February. I hope he takes this right into the parade, how mad he is, because honestly, like, I can't, there's no way, like, the Eagles look great. I know they look terrible against the Panthers, but the Panthers, like, nobody's even paying attention to them, and they make the game close to the end. But generally, like, yeah, I am so happy with the way the Eagles are playing.
855-212-4227. All right, well, get some little Eagles drama. If I'm a Lions fan, I'm just sitting back like, wahaha, like, watch everyone else just, deal with all their personality conflicts. When I got Dan Campbell, who, I don't know, I feel like people would run through a brick wall first, then ask why second.
Yeah, that's really the issue with the Lions. Except, did you hear Teddy Bruschi go off on the Lions this weekend?
I did not know.
Oh, I mean, the Lions are so obviously, like, the Lions are the favorite. They have to act like the favorite and maybe not go for fourth down at their own 28-yard line every time. They are evening the field because right now they're such a better team than everybody. Like, I think the Eagles are looking at the Lions and being like, wow, they got to get their act together.
You're asking the Detroit Lions to act like they've been there before? They've never been there before. They don't have to act like they're the favorite. This is like years and years and years of the Lions just being the ultimate underdog. They get to play both sides. They're technically the favorite, but in the minds of everyone, they're still the lovable loser. They're still the underdog. It's this really amazing space to occupy for Detroit.
Right, but they are neutralizing their personnel advantage by playing like they're not the best team in the league. That's what Bruschi said. I mean, they're definitely, look at their offensive line. Like, they should just pound everybody and be conservative and win the game. They don't have to be, like, radical. Thank God they are, because honestly, that's the only chance the Eagles have right now.
They'll never see it coming.
They'll never see it coming. I think the theme of the day is going to be beefs. Not around here. we're good. No personality
you know
conflicts
what?
on this show.
If we could have some beefs and win 9 straight games, then maybe we need some beefs.
Well, I don't even know what we win. We're not even judged by ratings. Like we can't even. We're judged on something different.
A Marconi? What are those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a Marconi.
Yeah, I honestly, like, if the Eagles don't get along like this and keep winning, oh my God, I love it.
Maybe we should get some more tension around here. No, we're not talking about us. We're talking about another beef that I don't know about you guys. Never saw this one coming. New documentary is going to expose 2 legendary players who have beef, and it was caught on camera. We'll tell you everything we're talking about. We'll explain it all. We'll make tons of sense in just moments. But again, if you want to call about the Eagles, and does this crack the door open, their drama, does this crack the door open for any other team in the NFC, a contender, to come in and take this conference? 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. I understand what you were doing in the first segment, Maggie.
What's
Trying to make me nervous about my Eagles because you are secretly nervous yourself. Because the Buffalo Bills have to play the Detroit Lions this weekend.
I'm nervous about the Eagles because one of your all-pros went on radio and said the quarterback and wide receiver hate each other. That's why I'm nervous about the Eagles. Like, I didn't invent this out of thin air. Like, this happened.
I think there's some. You said some things. There's some Lions paranoia that I think you should be nervous, by the way. This is a tough assignment for your Buffalo Bills. This could be possibly a Super Bowl preview if you squint. I think it's interesting. Actually, as an Eagles fan, I want the Lions to win and seal up the number one seed so the Eagles can start resting their players early. This is, because you know how the NFL works. It's like who's going to be healthy in the playoffs. It's the number one, number two, and number three most important issue. So this is a really interesting weekend. The Eagles play the Steelers and doesn't mean much, but there might be some in-state feelings. I don't even know. And the Bills play the Lions. I'm very curious how this is all going to sort out. And now because you keep talking about it, I'm very curious what A.J. Brown says after the game. Well, now we're all the cameras are going to fly to that guy after the game.
Of course. And Jalen Hurts speaks today, right? Quarterbacks speak on Wednesdays. So
he's not going to say anything. He never says anything.
Exactly. And like I don't know. I'm not in. I don't think I'm. What's that called? Deference. There's like some kind of psychological term that you are accusing me of here.
No, I'm not accusing you. I'm kind of being funny because you guys play the Lions. I want to tease you in advance if you get killed by the Lions because they are really good.
I know. Well, I mean, listen, it feels like a big litmus test. For the Bills, without a doubt.
You say that, but you know that in this sort of interconference matchup, like you're not going to get the A game for both teams. Like they're going to hold back things. Maybe.
I mean, here's the thing. I was willing to overlook Buffalo getting smoked by the Ravens to say, okay, well, that could be a problem if they see them in the postseason. That could be a problem. Yeah. But I was willing to say, well, Ravens in the postseason don't exactly have the best track record. Not that Buffalo's is blowing the doors off people, but they don't have the best track record. Lamar has a lot to prove in the postseason. And like playing a team one time, maybe you totally flip the script on them. Another time, you just never know. If they get absolutely blown out by the Lions, I'm not going to feel great because that means that basically all the good teams that they play, they're either have to have a furious comeback like they did against the Rams and still fall short, or get smoked like they did against the Ravens. You have the bright spot of beating the Chiefs, but as everyone likes to point out to me, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season before, and it hasn't meant anything.
Yeah, I mean, my counter would be last year the Ravens blew the doors off the Lions and then blew the doors off the Niners, and it didn't mean anything because the Niners and the Lions were right there in the NFC title game. So these cross-conference matchups are funny. I'm not sure you can really read too much into that. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts can fight all they want. The Eagles have the number one defense in the NFL. That's crazy talk. So I'm not getting off my pedestal on the Eagles. I feel really good about this team. I think they're the second best team in the NFC, and if things break right, they get the Super Bowl. Again, maybe I'm crazy, but I kind of like all this tension and anger because I don't know, Jalen Hurts is like, he's not that great. Maybe this will help him play a little better. There's something like, this is not sending me to a panic mode. I guess the downside is Jalen Hurts could lose his confidence because A.J. Brown's glaring at him all game. But I don't even know. Like, I'm not sure how this actually plays out on the field. I'm not sure. I'm not saying I know one way or the other. I just don't know how hard is it for Jalen Hurts to turn around and hand the ball to Saquon Barkley? What difference does it make if A.J. Brown likes him or not?
I think we should put the poll question up. Like, what did Perloff say? This could be a good thing? I don't know about that.
Local Philly man welcomes tension and anger. Shocker.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's a Philly thing. Like, yeah, of course everybody's fighting. Like, it's like a big family. Yeah,
might as well be Christmas, or whatever. This is just Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, if Saquon Barkley's coming around on the outside and A.J. Brown is mad and throws a block and pancakes a dude, and yes, let's go.
Do we think that's how this anger is going to reveal itself?
Oh, yeah. Watch A.J. Brown play. Like, he will throw people around like me with my 5-year-old kid at the time. Yes, he is a monster on the field when he wants to be. He just loses focus sometimes.
Right. So, again, complaining after wins, it's just, to me, unforgivable when you're talking about team sports. It's one thing to say, I wish I played better, even in a win. That's fine. You can be self-scouting. But to complain.
You should see my text thread after the Eagles almost lost to the Panthers. It was like fire Sirianni again. Yeah,
can't trust these fans.
Philly fans they're ready to go.
I trust Brandon Graham, though. I trust Brandon Graham. I think he's got a pulse on the locker room more than Sirianni does.
Yeah, I mean, I used to trust Brandon Graham. I don't know why he said this, but I don't know. Maybe Brandon Graham was trying to fire up the guys a little bit, or maybe he's trying to fix the situation. Who cares? Like, you have Jalen Carter on one side and Saquon Barkley on the other. Let's go. Let's just beat up everybody. The Steelers, by the way, the Steelers-Eagles game is going to be unwatchable. I mean, there is not going to be. It's going to be carry after carry. It's going to be Najee Harris and Saquon Barkley. It's going to be 17-13, and we all know it.
I thought George Pickens might play.
He said doubtful. Yeah, doubtful yesterday.
Yeah,
Thank God.
Tomlin's downplaying it.
The chat is very much with you. I'm daily. Maggie's displacing her concern about the Bills under the Eagles. I promise you I'm not. I don't have to.
We don't face the Lions this weekend.
My team went on local radio to blast another player on the team.
Yeah, but nobody on my team has to see Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery running right downhill at you next week with Penny Sewell blocking. That is a much bigger concern.
Give it a week. Give it a month, rather, and then you will.
Trust me, I am not sleeping over that exact situation.
Also, the chat really loving Seth freaking Rollins. You guys acknowledged over there with the burn it down. It did not go under the radar.
Paying attention on the show, unlike
what's the
my
connection
segment yesterday. Maggie kept saying that burn it down. She said it like 5 times. So I'm like, well, let's play Mr. Seth Rollins. Burn it down.
Guest on the show.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, because Andrew Bogusch is here, and he loves your interest in pro wrestling over there. He just thinks it's the coolest thing.
It's his favorite thing about EJ, Pete.
I thought his favorite thing is that I love superhero stuff.
Well, when you throw last week, to pull the curtain back on great debate, when I suggested my person, you said, I don't think that fits. I said, who do you have? And you said a wrestler in a sports conversation.
What was the great debate again?
Biggest sports enigma.
Yes. And I said Freddie Adu, and you said, I don't know. I'm going to go with Hulk Hogan. That feels like a...
Sir, it was CM Punk.
Whoever it was.
CM Punk, he fought in UFC, so therefore he's more than a wrestler.
That's not air quotes fought. Yeah. He got in the octagon.
Yeah. Fought twice, and he got knocked out, but he did fight.
Again, air quotes fight. He showed up.
If I got in and got knocked out, I would not be a UFC fighter.
there's actual real UFC fighters that are more enigmas than CM Punk. You could have gone with McGregor or anyone, Nate Diaz, I don't know, someone else.
There's
John
no
Jones.
enigma about the Hulkster. I mean, that is, he's coming right at you.
I just couldn't remember who we picked last week.
I think if we were doing opposite of enigma, then we'd have Hulk Hogan.
I can't wait to say which wrestler wins this week. I'm excited for that pick. How we're going to squeeze that guy in.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to do a wrestler this week.
Yeah, great debate comes your way.
Or Bruce Bochy, if Pete's listening.
Well, you could do Brock Lesnar. Didn't he play a little college football?
Maybe.
I think Big Show played college basketball.
Goldberg played at Georgia Tech.
Goldberg was a damn good player.
Yeah, Roman Reigns played with Calvin Johnson.
Roman Reigns was also pretty good.
Maybe that's a future great debate. Greatest wrestler
Bogusch.
athlete.
Bogusch will quit the show before we hear
The
that.
answer's Kurt Angle.
That's a good one. Sign me up for that. Like what they did best in a real sport, in an actual sport.
How about The Rock was on Miami?
Yeah.
Well, you know who I'm picking.
Oh, by the way, like if we did that great debate, we would have to shut down the phone lines. There'd be so many calls. So I agree with you on that one.
You can do McAfee. One of the Paul brothers is in there.
Definitely. Yeah, Logan Paul.
Wow.
Boxer and wrestler.
Oh, my God. Man, now you're getting to controversy. I feel like Logan Paul and Jake Paul are closer to the CM Punk. You beat a 59-year-old Mike Tyson, and that makes you an athlete? Okay.
100 million people watch that.
Hey, look, Logan fought Floyd Mayweather. So
again, air quotes.
Yeah.
Bogusch has headlines for us. Lots happening today.
It's all sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code PRIMETIME and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. You have probably figured it out by now. That underlying, unexplained excitement you felt all day yesterday was actual anticipation for the NBA Cup quarterfinals. The Bucks and Magic did not disappoint last night.
And with 40 seconds left, Damian Lillard's got it coming across midcourt, keeping going to the basket. The seas parted and Lillard finger rolls it home. Bucks in front, 108-107.
Oh, the drama. Dave Kane, Bucks Radio. Damian Lillard scoring 9 of his 28 in the final minute to drag Milwaukee past Orlando, 114-109. Giannis throwing in 37. They beat a Magic team that was shorthanded. No Paolo Banchero, no Franz Wagner, so leaving a proud head coach, Jamal Mosley.
I can't be more proud of their effort, their energy, their sticking together throughout the runs within the game that shows continued growth for this team and understanding how good we can continue to be.
But sadly for them, it's the Bucks that move on to Vegas, waiting on the Knicks or Hawks, who play tonight. On the West side, the Thunder moving on after a 118-104 decision over the Mavericks, 39 points for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Kawhi Leonard returned to practice yesterday, the first time he's been on the floor with Clipper teammates since the end of last season. There is no public timetable for Kawhi and his right knee returning to game action, but it reportedly could be within 2 weeks.
I feel like I've been held hostage by Kawhi Leonard injury updates for most of my adult life at this point.
Well, no, but you're not held hostage anymore because you even care. Like,
no, I don't.
Does anybody care if
well,
Kawhi Leonard plays or not anymore? That story... No, it's a good story to happen. I'm saying
it's an important
it jumped the
update.
shark about 6 years ago.
I'm like, I was just thinking as you were reading that, I'm like, all right, Kawhi's back. I'm like, man, how long have I been hearing Kawhi Leonard injury updates? When did he come in the league? Like 2012?
Yeah, this feels like me going, oh, Grey's Anatomy is still on TV?
Exactly.
Oh, Kawhi is still trying to play? Okay. Good for them.
How do they still have storylines on that show? Is it because there's just no ending to medical ailments that you can have?
And I mean, they've done everything. When I watched with my wife, like the first, 5 or 6 seasons, they had already gone through like a plane crash and a helicopter crash and a car crash. And so they must just be doubling and tripling down on storylines.
Can you guys guess how many seasons Grey's Anatomy has been on television?
22.
22?
I'm going to say 21.
It might be 21.
I mean, think about it. They came into the league the same year as LeBron James. That's a long time for a TV show.
21 seasons.
21 seasons.
And I told you guys off the air, there's a fascinating documentary on Peacock about this lady who ended up being like the head writer of Grey's Anatomy, and she completely fabricated her entire life and finally got caught in all these lies. Said she had cancer, didn't have cancer, killed people in her family, that they died, they didn't die. Like, it's ridiculous.
Wait, she didn't kill anybody.
No, she killed them off,
right,
but they were still fine.
Yeah,
and then she would steal people's personal stories and put them into the script and then get credit for this great idea. And they were like, oh, that happened to me. And it's unbelievable how long this went on and how successful she was. Completely creating a life for herself. It's nuts.
Well, that makes it.
And it's still ongoing. It's not done yet. She only recently got found out.
That makes sense because that's what Grey's Anatomy feels like. Like, that's perfect for that kind of role, to be a writer who can fabricate things. I think that's a good skill.
Well,
for
right, but
a writer of Grey's Anatomy.
Only on paper. You can't. She had people raise money for sick family members that were not sick.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
She's a scam artist. Although taking things from other people's lives, I imagine writers do that a lot.
Right. Well, I was just thinking about it. I hate to be that guy who quotes Seinfeld when Jay Peterman bought Kramer's life stories. The publisher had no stories of his own, so he was talking to Kramer's like, can I buy all your personal stories? That's what that sounds like to me. Yeah.
But at least he asked.
Yeah, he actually paid for them.
Right.
No, I think, if you talk to a screenwriter of Grey's Anatomy, you have to know everything you say is going to be used on the show.
I think it's like when people talk to us. It's like when people tell me interesting things, I'm like, that's going to the show. That's going in the show.
What I find actually, not that this was going to, yeah, exactly. But this, when they lose an actor because of a contract situation, they kill them in like horrible ways. Like Grey's Anatomy has this weird thing where they kill all their popular actors. My daughter's like weeping on the couch. I'm like, what's going on? Looking at her iPhone.
Dr. McDreamy.
Yeah. I mean, not spoiler alert because it happened now 14 years ago, but they killed Patrick Dempsey. Like, just let him, he wanted more money, just let him walk. Yeah, he got killed in 2012. No, he died in a car accident trying to save somebody.
One of them was sick. One of the lead doctors, I feel like, when I was still watching it.
Probably. One of the lead doctors got so mangled in a car accident that they didn't know it was him, and they performed surgery on him in the last 5 minutes of the show. I'm going to get emotional here. This is George. They're like, oh my God, it's George, who's been on the show for 14 years and then had a contract dispute with Shonda Rhimes, and now his whole face is disfigured, and he dies. This is literally what happened.
This is like what I would imagine if Bill Belichick was a screenwriter or something. The way that he so willingly traded guys like out of town who would help them, you know, like the Richard Seymours and stuff. It's like if Bill Belichick was writing the script, it's like not only are you gone?
Yeah.
There's no possibility you're ever coming back. We can only identify you by the dental records.
I know, absolutely. By the way, when we were kids, nobody died in shows. Like once in a while, it died. It was like huge news.
I mean, when Dr. Green died on ER, that hurt.
Well,
I think it was high school.
I remember when Sopranos killed off a character whose name I can't say aloud. That was so shocking. Like, and now everybody dies.
Wait,
like,
you don't want to say who it is? It happened so long ago.
No, he doesn't want to say the name.
Well, the name is, I guess, explicit.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. I thought you were talking about.
Big bleep.
I thought you were talking about the girlfriend.
Which girlfriend?
Christopher's.
Oh, yeah. That was shocking, too.
No, he's talking about big...
Yeah.
The first time...
The first time... Sopranos, everybody dies. It's a mob movie.
Right, but the first
show.
time it was like the year 2001 when they shot the most lovable character on camera. I was like, what is going on here? When I was a kid, I don't think they killed people like that. Like nobody took out Archie Bunker. I don't know.
I think Archie Bunker.
They killed the dad on Good Times.
They did?
They did?
Yeah, that's like very famous. It's like a very famous John Witherspoon went to do Roots, and then he died of a heart attack.
I think the OC.
He passed away recently, right?
Yes.
The OC, they were just knocking off people left and right, and then obviously Game of Thrones when they killed Ned Stark in the first season. It was shocking.
Which show does not fit in critically with the other ones just mentioned?
The OC has gotten a second life.
Like Sopranos, Game of Thrones.
Are you watching it now or back then?
Back then.
Okay. Totally watching it now with my daughter. By the way, oh my God. I want to be Seth, the nerd who gets all the girls. Yeah, no, I'm not.
He's based on you. You're older.
No. Seth is quietly dating supermodels left and right. Rachel Bilson was his girlfriend, who was like a 10. I am not Seth. I mean, maybe my wife is a 10, but in high school.
There he is.
First of all, he's like 35 years old.
Keep saving abuse.
He's a junior in high school. He's probably 35 years old, dated like a supermodel. It's like, that's life in the OC, I guess.
All right, well, we left no more time for sports. 855-212-4227. We got a major beef, though. It's going to be the theme of the show between two legendary players that we did not see coming. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Theme of the show today, beefs. One we did not see coming was apparently a long-held grudge, Perloff, that Mark Gastineau, the legendary defensive lineman from the New York Sack Exchange, had against Brett Favre. So obviously Brett Favre is involved in one of the more, I would say, controversial plays in NFL history. It was Michael Strahan breaking the sack record. And it's a game that was out of hand already when the Packers came to New York to play the New York Giants. And Favre kind of takes a dive and gives Michael Strahan the record. It's kind of an unsatisfying, quite frankly, like moment for Strahan. But the moment came, the moment happened.
Right.
And Mark Gastineau, who was in attendance that day, so you would kind of think he's sort of giving his blessing and kind of understanding, hey, the torch is being passed here. But all these years later, that is not the case. Here is a clip from a soon-to-be-released ESPN 30 for 30 with Mark Gastineau saying the NFL should not have awarded the sack to Michael Strahan.
Anybody will tell you Brett Favre took a dive. And you know it, she knows it, he knows it, and everybody knows it. I didn't know what had happened. The NFL should have stopped that and said, listen, no. That's not a sack.
Okay, so that obviously didn't happen. It's not going to happen. And here's a PS to this story that Mark Gastineau had been harboring this resentment towards Brett Favre for taking the dive for all these years. that at a memorabilia show in Chicago some years later, he actually goes to confront Brett Favre.
I thought we met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. I'm going to get my sack back, dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
Brett Favre.
I mean, awkward doesn't even begin to describe this thing.
Brett Favre is like, do. Oh, hey, former player. We met before. How you doing? He did not see that smoke coming at all.
No, he didn't. Here's the thing. I understand from Mark Gastineau's point of this that with years now to ruminate on it, again, he was in the building when this happened, when Strahan set the record. And so an idea that he was okay with sort of passing the torch, but you ruminate on it for years. And the fact that Gastineau now believes that this has cost him money because he cannot claim to be like the sack king, or that it may have cost him a shot at the Hall of Fame. I think now he's just living with all of this resentment. And obviously there's nothing he can do to change the outcome. So he's kind of left here with just his frustration, and he took it out on Brett Favre, which is really not the place to put it. It's not Brett Favre's fault.
Yeah, I feel like you're being a little rational about Gastineau, who has documented CTE problems. Like, I feel like he obviously, you can even hear in his voice, there's something off. So the logic of it, I totally understand what you're saying, but I think this seems like a sick person kind of. This does not sound like a sane conversation. And unfortunately, like, I'm just imagining a football player from the 80s, this probably is a result of playing football, right? Like, I felt like I was listening to like a live version of Antonio Brown's Twitter feed. Like, yeah, I felt like that was a CTE story right there. I'm sure the documentary is almost mostly about that, right?
I'm not sure. I think it's just about the New York Sack Exchange.
Yeah.
And so, listen, Mark Gastineau is one of the all-time characters in the NFL. Right? I mean, he's married to famous women, Brigitte Nielsen, dating famous women, lived a life in the spotlight. I think he had a reality TV show at one point with his daughters, maybe. I think that might be right. EJ, if you might be able to check that. He's just had this larger-than-life personality. And in New York, and with this cool nickname for the Sack Exchange and just how dominant that defensive line was, he created this sort of, a persona, or maybe this is his persona. So I think you're right. It's probably about there might be some head trauma there, but I also think Mark Gastineau's a character. I think he would do something like this.
Yeah, that's true. So in 2017, he told the Daily News that he had dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and it was a result of football. Like, I could tell. I think. Do
you think he's being exploited here?
Oh my God! Like, what is ESPN doing? Like, I feel like they're putting this out there. Like, oh, look at this guy. Because didn't he sound sick to you guys in that thing? Like, that clearly was not a rational conversation.
I mean, I think it's tough to say, and you're right. He did admit that he has
not tough
these
to say.
issues.
He definitely, like, you could hear in his voice there was a little slur. Like, he's not all there.
I just hope that if he can resolve this in his mind, because to walk around with these kind of feelings and then to not just have these feelings, harbor this resentment against Brett Favre, to actually go confront him about it. That's the sign that he obviously needs some major help.
No, I don't think these feelings are rational. I don't think he was probably even that mad in the moment. I think that his brain is doing things, is tricking him into things because of this head stuff. Don't you think like he's irrationally angry? Like, I'll bet you like he probably has all sorts of issues. I'm dying to. I mean, I feel like ESPN put this out there to make him look weird, and they're like, come watch this sort of, I don't know, whatever it is.
Oh, you think
sideshow
that they're putting him out? I mean, listen, but that's the thing about Mark Gastineau, and the show is called Gastineau Girls. Thank you. About his daughters. I think that
It's about his daughters?
Yes.
That was the reality show. It was about his daughters.
They're
very pretty blondes.
Yeah.
I think that listen, all of that aside, I think he is a character who would put himself in these situations. Mark Gastineau was never a shy violet, right? And if he's thinking now about all the money I lost out on because I can't claim to be the single season sack holder, which by the way has been broken since by TJ Watt, it's cost me all this money, and he thinks it's cost him the Hall of Fame. We'll get more into it. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, the dust's still settling on the historic contract given to Juan Soto. Gold dust, diamond dust. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, 15 years, $765 million, no deferrals, and we're getting a lot more details about this contract that Juan Soto has signed with the New York Mets, spurning the New York Yankees. And Perloff, we have to go to somebody who has been in these conversations, who has had to make decisions about free agency, and that is the former president of the Miami Marlins, David Samson, who has his podcast, Nothing Personal, which we love. David, thanks so much for the time. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We love morning people, and we know you are one of them. Okay, so first things first, the Yankee side of this, right? The Yankees traded a boatload to get Juan Soto to sort of make their pitch to him for a whole year. This is where you should be. Mystique and aura of the pinstripes. They get to the World Series, they lose. Do you think the Yankees ever had a chance to give a final offer to Juan Soto, or do you think, as it's been reported, 10 a.m. on Sunday, Yankees made their final offer, and the next thing they heard was Boras saying, no thanks, we're going to the Mets?
I think both things are quite possible when you have Scott Boras as the agent. But let me go back. And when you make a trade like that with a player who is a pending free agent, you have to make it with the assumption that you are not going to retain that free agent. And you have to be okay with that trade. And the Yankees got to the World Series. They lost in 5 games. If they had won that series, we're not having this discussion because we got a year out of Soto. They got a ring, and then you move on. He didn't choose you, and that's it. But when you don't get the ring, you look back and say, oh, man, would I have done that? And the answer's every single time. It's way better to go for it and try and not make it than not have the year of Soto.
David,
so let's move. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask, did some of the background stuff about like his family member running to a security guard and not getting a box, do you buy all that there were ill feelings between Soto and the team?
It may be the biggest bunch of horse hockey that's out there right now. If you want to if there's an issue that Juan Soto had with any family members or chauffeurs, the Yankees, I'm going to give them credentials, stadium credentials, their name right there on a pass, and they can go wherever they want, where everyone goes. And in terms of a suite, I understand that you can't give a suite because you didn't give to Jeter or to Judge. But here's an idea. Instead of $50 million a year, give him $50.25 million a year and tell him to buy a suite. So there are a million ways that you can do it. You can even gross it up for taxes, and so he's got the money to buy your suite. Don't believe that that's the reason that Soto chose the Mets. And then let's talk about how it works with finals. There are examples where you think you have a deal with a free agent, and you say to the agent, listen, just come back to me. And that's indicating that we're going to move. If you come back to me as a final with something, give me a chance. And the agent will say, sure, no problem. But they're full of it most of the time. You've got to give your last and best final offer at some point. And in order to have credibility going forward with any other players that agent has, or even in the industry, you have to mean it. If your last and final is 760 over 16, and you say this is my last and final, then you don't expect to get a call back other than yes or no. So it really is about the language that's used with the agent during the later parts of the negotiation.
Wow, that's amazing. David Samson is here with us. He's the former president of the Miami Marlins. His podcast is called Nothing Personal, part of the Meadowlark Network, and we're pleased to get his expertise here because he's been in these rooms. You know, David, is it a fair criticism of Hal Steinbrenner, the owner of the Yankees, that they didn't spend enough to get Juan Soto?
I'm tempted to criticize Hal Steinbrenner more for allowing a panic move like 8 years, 218 to Max Fried because he got so concerned that everybody was freaking out. I understand that you want to reallocate and you want to continue, as Booney said, to build a championship team and win a World Series. But, man, desperation is the stinkiest cologne around. And I totally understand how Max Fried got what he got. But I think you're going to look back and you're going to say, I think 770 over 15 is going to look a little better than 218 over 8 for Max. And I know that sounds crazy because it's $550 more million. But But Max Fried is a risky sign. Boy, he's good when he's on the mound. But there's no chance, and you can mark it right now, 30 starts times 8 years. You're telling me that he's going to have 240 starts with the Yankees? You better pound the under on that number in a very significant way. And so when you look at the cost per start, when you know that Soto plays and he's healthy 150 games a year, it's a tough pill to swallow. But reacting to fans who are as angry as the Turturos, I mean, sometimes you do stupid things.
I mean, yeah. I also, and you know this because you had Giancarlo Stanton and now he is with the Yankees. Guys don't generally get healthier when they come to New York. I don't know what it is, but they generally don't get healthier when they're with the Yankees.
I would just say it's also time.
Yeah.
Players, it's very rare. Now that fewer players are taking steroids, it's, the days of, oh, my God, look at how good Clemens got when he got older, right?
Right.
Those days are older are done. So there are no pitchers. There's no more Nolan Ryans. There's no more Roger Clemenses. And I don't put those two in the same sentence happily because they don't deserve to be. But at the end of the day, you can't expect a pitcher to perform through age 38. The commissioner used to put, side note if you have time, the commissioner during owners' meetings would put up a slide of all pitchers who signed long-term contracts into their deep 30s. And it was unanimous. They don't work. Once in a while, you can get a Scherzer or a Verlander where, wow, they were performing well. But there's way too many more that don't. But owners tend to ignore that because they feel such pressure during the offseason. They all read, they all listen to you guys, they all read the paper, and they all get nervous.
Wow. So from the Mets standpoint, up to $800 million, it sounds like if Juan Soto's healthy, that investment doesn't scare you.
Does that investment scare me? Of course, but so does a 2-year, $30 million deal. They all scare me because I can't stand paying players not to play because of injury or paying players who are underperforming. So fear was just my standard move for 18 years. So I wouldn't say that. But what I would say is that when you're the Mets and you look at Soto, you have to always look at the Angels. The Angels were the North Star of baseball because they had Ohtani and Trout, and they couldn't make the playoffs. They couldn't win 81 games. We had Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna, Realmuto. We couldn't win 81 games and couldn't make the playoffs. It's not like basketball where you can bring in a big three and you're guaranteed to play in May and June. So the Mets don't have a team right now that, in my opinion, is better than the Dodgers 1-26. And so if they want to be, they're going to have to add more. So I assume that Steve Cohen has more in mind, and I don't mean Clay Holmes.
David Samson is joining us. He's the former president of the Miami Marlins. His podcast is called Nothing Personal. I'm glad you brought up the Dodgers. It's where we wanted to go next. So Shohei, we got the announcement that he's not going to be ready to pitch at the beginning of the season. He got hurt again in the World Series. Perloff thinks, David, they should scrap the pitching with Ohtani, period. That this is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. I think that's what you pay the $700 million for, is the amazing Babe Ruth aspect of it, where he's going to be pitching and hitting. If you were the president of the Dodgers, what would you do?
I think you have to stop saying, if you don't mind, Maggie, 700, because it's really not. The way the deferrals worked, it's more like 46. Wow. And so his contract in baseball is looked at $46 million a year for 10 years because of all the deferrals. But you're right. Even at that number, you thought you were getting a two-way player, because unanimous MVP or not, as a DH, that was a really heavy price to pay. I know there's been talk they've gotten rewards back through Japanese sponsorships and increased ticket prices, and it's helped their carriage deals, which is ridiculous with their regional sports network. It didn't. They're fine with or without Ohtani. But the fact is, there are very few players who come back from two Tommy Johns. And they won't even call it a second Tommy John, but of course that's what it was. One of them who succeeded just got $75 million over 3 from Texas. His name is Nathan Eovaldi. He's one of the few players who's gotten cut twice and has been more than serviceable. But when you've got someone cut twice, talk about being scared. You're scared every pitch, every single pitch, because one more and you're out. It's a lot like baseball. You get 3 strikes in that elbow, And if it goes down again, he will never pitch again. So in terms of being ready in March, there was never a question. Nobody inside baseball thought Ohtani was going to pitch when the Dodgers go to Tokyo. That wasn't the point of it. It was getting Ohtani, the player, to Tokyo. It was getting all the dollars that MLB got from the promoter to bring the Dodgers and Cubs to Tokyo. So it was not a surprise that Dave Roberts said that.
Did the Mets close the distance with the Dodgers at least by adding Soto, or are the Dodgers just still head and shoulders talent-wise above the rest of the NL?
I think the Dodgers are still head and shoulders above. However, you know how baseball is. It's very rare what happened last year that the Dodgers are the best team and then they win the World Series. And frankly, the Dodgers pitching in October was rough, and they just got an amazing number of innings from Walker Buehler, as you may recall, which was sort of out of nowhere given his inconsistency. So it's really hard to say. But of course, you're better with Soto. Nobody gets worse with Soto. And when you're on the field, it's not like you look around. I used to do this as president, but that's a little crazy of me, where instead of seeing the name on the back of the jersey, you're going 14 million, 19 million, 3 years of control left, arbitration eligible next year. You're going around and looking at the field that way. But once the first pitch goes, it's Juan Soto, and he's good to have in your lineup.
David Samson's the former president of the Marlins. His podcast is called Nothing Personal on the Meadowlark Network. David, thanks so much for the time this morning and the expertise. We appreciate it.
Have a great morning.
Okay,
take care.
You too. Well, all having a good morning. Not as good as Juan Soto. Yeah. They say money doesn't buy happiness, but I disagree. I think it makes your life easier.
Absolutely.
Doesn't maybe buy happiness, but
Can David Samson?
Yeah.
Brilliant baseball mind.
Yeah.
You know who he was basically saying the same thing as? Andrew Perloff. Like, you could buy Juan Soto, and I'm a Phillies fan. I'm mad that he's going to the Mets. I'm going to put that out there.
We know.
But at the end of the day, all that matters is in September, how's your middle relief look? That is baseball. And everybody in this office said, well, look, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series. I'm like, yeah, one time in 25 years of people trying to buy World Series, it happened. Just happened to go that way. And it wasn't even a fully staffed Dodgers. It was a bizarre bullpen team. It was just like, baseball is so chaotic. I feel like the Mets holding a parade in December because they signed Juan Soto. It's like, yeah, we'll see you in September.
To be honest, the trade deadline in baseball means more than any other sport, I think.
Because, in August trade deadline.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Or July, whatever comes. Yeah, August, whatever, July.
Yeah.
It means so much because I remember, Susan Waldman, who's the voice of the Yankees, or the color analyst for the Yankees. So what do you think was the difference between the Yankees and the Dodgers? She said they went all in at the deadline and the Yankees did not. Like, they added pieces that they ended up needing and the Yankees didn't. Now, Manny was interesting to watch during that interview with David Samson. Now, you can always listen to our show across our incredible Infinity Sports Network affiliates on the free Odyssey app, on Sirius XM, channel 158. You can watch the show on youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork, and now streaming on X at Maggie Gray. That was tough for Manny. That was hard for you. I could see you were like leaking through that. You melted during that interview. What was the part that David Samson said that made, as a Yankee fan, that made you hurt the most? Because you had like a physical reaction to him.
His comment on Max Fried, because I feared this after Juan Soto signed. I feared that Brian Cashman will go and invest in pitching, and I'm not 100% positive, like Perloff said. I was a middle relief pitching looking in September. I think that's rather pivotal in today's game. So I think when he said that it was a panic move out of Cashman, I cringed because I agree. We already are paying Garrett Cole, the Yankees, are already paying Garrett Cole $1 trillion. Yeah. They're already paying Carlos Rodon, who's an average ball player, $1 trillion as well. Now you add Max Fried at $200 and some million. It's just way too much in the pitching staff, in my opinion. And you've got, you got Cole, you got Fried injury prone, as David Samson mentioned, and then you got a bunch of who knows after that.
But here's the thing, right? Well, you have Heel, and he's somebody who was really good last year as a rookie. But here's the thing. So you got the biggest thing about Fried. The money, I get it, but this is not a salary cap sport, and it's the Yankees. So you, in theory, should be able to spend your way out of any quagmire you find yourself in. You're the Yankees. You're not the Brewers, you know?
They have other holes. That's my
true.
issue.
Okay, but here's the thing. Max Fried, I understand because of the age and the injury concerns. That's alone, right? The panic move is the bigger thing because the last time that the Yankees did a panic move was they missed out on Ohtani and made a quick trade for Giancarlo Stanton. And while that looks okay right now because Stanton had a big postseason, Stanton has actually been a bit of an albatross. He has not been nearly as good as he was when he won his MVP with Miami, with David Samson's Miami Marlins. And he's also clogged holes and other signings because he's so injury prone. He can't play in the field. He's got a DH. So it's created a lack of flexibility for the Yankees. So that's what I'd be worried about. The panic move of signing Fried just because the Yankees are prone to doing this stuff. Cashman's been in the game for 30 years. How does he do this? How does he panic?
Brian Cashman signing a lot of money to a starting pitcher. What could possibly go wrong?
Seriously.
I mean, they still have to find a second baseman, another third baseman. We have to go find another outfielder to fill in that spot for Juan Soto. I'd rather them spend on the position players, spend on the guys who can hit the ball over the wall at Yankee Stadium than to have so much invested in the pitching staff. Not to mention Marcus Stroman's awful contract as well that nobody's going to pick up.
They'll offload him somehow. 855-212-4227. All right, David Samson. Talking a little Yankees there, a little Mets, and a little Shohei Ohtani, where he is not going to be ready to pitch at the beginning of the season, but not too much of a shock.
Must be nice to be able to just add $2 or $3 million onto a contract to throw in a suite. So, you want a suite? It's $2 million.
Buy it yourself.
Yeah, buy it yourself.
Well, the other part too is, what Samson is saying about the suite that apparently the Yankees wouldn't give him, and the security having an issue with Juan Soto's driver. Yeah. Or whatever, he said that stuff means absolutely nothing.
That's what Samson said, but I totally agree. One thing you said about Shohei, you said do the Babe Ruth thing. You know what happened with Babe Ruth, right? Yeah, he stopped pitching and became the greatest player in the history of the sport. Well, so if that's what happens to Shohei, that'd be fine.
But it's what I meant by that was it's been 100 years, since we've seen someone do it. It's like the historic nature of it.
Right. No, but I think the Babe Ruth model is exactly what you could get with Shohei. Like he might string up 8 MVPs. That'd be the all-time except for Barry, who was cheating.
We talked about it so much at the time, and still we didn't talk about it enough about what the deferrals did to help the Dodgers. And just Ohtani's deferrals, like how much. And again, the Dodgers can afford it. They could afford it non-deferred. They can afford it, guys. They all can afford it. Yeah. They tell you they can't. They absolutely can't.
Well, Dodgers don't tell you they can't. The Dodgers have money to burn.
The Dodgers aren't going to close their doors because they can't pay the bill. Like, that's just not happening. It doesn't happen. They make money. They print it. But, man, that's just such a massive thing that happened. Also,
what, the deferrals?
Yeah. The other part, too, David Samson saying that the commissioner of baseball at owners' meetings would put up slides that said how badly pitchers age into their 30s. No wonder the league and the Players Association hate each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's funny, though. He did bring up, it depends on how much steroids is going on, right? Like, that's the key. And even when he said that, he's like, less players use steroids. I mean, do we really believe that? Are we going to be fooled again? I watch baseball. The guys look pretty big to me. So, I mean, if you're like if you could get a $50 million contract, go find some undetectable steroid, I would hope.
Well, I don't think it's that easy.
Oh, it definitely is. No, these guys are definitely using something.
I know, but then why do they still get busted? And sometimes they get busted
using
usually
like a FedEx package. It's usually like Rodney Harrison had like the FedEx went to the wrong door and he got busted.
See guys sometimes are like, I haven't heard of that since the 80s.
He did have a good
Stroll.
He did have a good point though that we don't see like the Roger Clemens at 40 years old winning 20 games.
I know.
Well, not 20 games, not winning a Cy Young.
Yeah, getting better. Like
there are a lot of position players around the league. I watch. I'm like, oh, he's wearing a loose jersey again. Like this. There's some big guys. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, I hear you on that. I'm talking about the aging of the guys. I feel
that is a big deal. You're right. I mean, Clemens and Bonds got 100 on the test cheating. They should have just toned it down a little bit.
But it's funny because there's also the funny pitchers who pitch in their late 30s and 40s that you would actually never detect that they're, and I don't believe they were on steroids. You guys, Jamie Moyer wasn't on steroids. He also wasn't throwing.
Right, he's a knuckleballer. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I don't think Bartolo Colon, did he ever get busted?
Well, not a knuckleballer. Was Moyer a knuckleballer?
No.
He threw a lot of soft. He threw a lot of soft stuff.
He was just throwing junk.
Yeah.
But there's some guys who it's such a great story. It's a fun story. I don't think Colon got busted, but now I might be.
Well, Phil Niekro, when I was a kid, pitched at 50, right? Like, he was, yeah. But he didn't cheat that way. He had like sandpaper in his back pocket, which that's the way they use. That's old school. That's my favorite kind of cheating. Put a nail file in your cleat. Like let's put some effort.
Bartolo Colon was suspended 50 games for testing positive for elevated testosterone in 2012.
Oh man, sorry, I can't have a big sexy as our.
That guy needs to get a refund on those steroids.
Yeah, no, he should have been testing positive for Ozempic, not.
I was like tested positive for unrefined sugar.
Yeah.
Do you think athletes are on Ozempic?
Oh,
the
I would
weight loss
imagine
drug?
so. But what kind of athletes would want to lose weight?
Yeah, that's it's the guys who can't make weight. If you're
I think NBA players for sure
are on Ozempic.
No, want to lose weight.
Oh, okay. Help their knees. Help.
Yeah, guys want to. Yeah, that's always the thing.
But
getting a little heavy.
But pro athletes, like they burn so many calories. I think Ozempic could be a little problematic, right? Because it suppresses your appetite.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's the one part of the population that's not on Ozempic. 855-212-4227. Yeah. Okay. Lots more to do. Thank you to David Samson, the former president of the Marlins, and the host of Nothing Personal, for joining us. Coming up, we've got some news for you from college. It's an idea. It's being floated out there. And guys, I love it. Get to it next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff show. We are really, really deep into our own teams over here today. I'm panicking about these Eagles riffs. Maggie is trying to avoid it, but she's got the Lions coming to town for her Bills.
I wish they were coming to town. Yeah, they're going to Detroit.
That game doesn't mean anything. And I guess there's a lot of like December baseball talk here, none of which will be remembered in August when that all goes sideways. Sorry, guys. It's the way it works.
Yeah, no, we're going to forget about Juan Soto by August. Good point.
Hopefully he's just heating up.
I remember I was sitting in this chair last April. Pete Bellotti was sitting where Manny was. He's like, the Mets are the worst team ever. And I'm like, yeah, it's May. They'll probably turn around and be good. He's like, there is 0.0 chance that happens. And of course I turned around because it's baseball.
A great time.
Good Bellotti impersonation.
Yeah. No, I keep on reminding him. I'm like, you said the Mets were dead and they're good. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all chaos. Football is in season right now. Let's get the headlines, Andrew Bogusch.
No. Bogusch is boycotting you.
He's so mad that I won't take this Juan Soto signing seriously.
I don't like the level of dismissiveness you have about this. Because you also go in between, I don't watch baseball, but here's my baseball expert points.
It's not expert points. I've lived in New York for over 20 years. I've seen the Mets do dumb things again and again. Why
Thanks,
would
Maggie.
This be
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
He's coping.
Protect your family, your phone, your furry friends with Life Electronic Device and Pet Health Insurance. Thankfully, the Bengals won in Dallas Monday night because otherwise Joe Burrow had a bad evening. The QB's home apparently burglarized while Burrow was in Texas. This might follow the homes of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce being broken into while they were with the Chiefs earlier this fall. But there's also this for Burrow to address.
Someone broke into my house. It's like completely messed up.
So that's apparently the voice of Olivia Ponton, a social media influencer who's appeared in the SI swimsuit edition. The 22-year-old called it my house in the 911 call. She then told police that she works for Burrow. How she works for him is unclear. But we do know that Burrow is in a long-term relationship with another beautiful woman. So many people want to know why Miss Olivia was in his home, at his home, while he was not there over this past weekend.
I mean...
Probably delivering the Batmobile.
I was going to say, I don't know if we need like our best minds on this one.
Well, you're getting it, though.
I think we could probably... The employee thing was odd, but... Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue at the house of star quarterback is like not that hard to find.
I'm Joe.
I mean, she has, I think, 8 million social media followers between all of her platforms. I don't think she
Joe one of them?
I don't think she needs the side job of like cutting his grass.
Dog sitting.
Right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, the employee part is weird, but I'm wondering if maybe, listen, if he's still has this other, if he still has a girlfriend, I think this is someone from high school or college.
From college,
long term. Maybe she's trying to save some face. If all of a sudden now she's talking to the police and this is going to be, because the house got broken into, maybe she's saying, well, I work here, so to try to save Joe's public other relationship, like she might be the other woman.
I think the play is if you're the other woman, you just walk away from the burgled house and you call no one.
What's crazy to me is that
I mean, you can't do that, Bogusch.
Or you go and you get, or you say, I see a broken window at my neighbor's house. Maybe you should send some police.
She's 22 years old. There's no way she's thinking that far.
Also, do you guys remember there was another part of this story that I think her mom called 911 first. So she sees the house is all messed up and broken into. The first thing she does, good advice from you, don't call the cops, call your mom. She called her mom, and I think her mom called the police, like, there could be someone in there who could hurt my daughter.
Yes.
So the mom did the right thing. So then the daughter called 911.
I thought it was the dad. It was the mom?
It was the mom.
It was
Yes.
the mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any parent would do that, by the way.
Now, they've been linked together before, right? This ponton woman.
I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's way more to this than I think we have to really get our celebrity sources going here.
Okay. Well, I mean, the idea that Joe Burrow might have a girlfriend and might be dating someone else, like, this is not that shocking.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case, but that wouldn't be that shocking.
Can we just, it looks like Joe may have been messy here a little bit, but there is a great cover he has with this. Both of these women are named Olivia.
Oh.
So I'm sure he got
he
away
them
with
confused?
this. I think he got away with this for this long because he could be like, I'm chilling with Olivia, or there's text. There's not, like, the fact how do you find, if this is indeed a second relationship, he found another woman with the same name?
It's a popular name. But the other part is, that doesn't help him with the first Olivia, the fact that he has a second Olivia, does it?
No, because she knows those are not her texts under the other Olivia thread.
Well, maybe to EJ's point, you don't get caught because you bought two gifts and one says to Mary
Olivia.
And the other one says to Jessica.
Right. The text thing, yeah, but like a lot of other things I think are solved. You're talking to people, I was with Olivia. Like, it keeps it simple. I don't know.
Do you think he was actually scouring the world for Olivias?
I think he thought about
scouring social media.
He thought about this being an advantage.
Are you being serious? Well, you're
100%.
serious.
Manny's shaking his head. I hope he's actually with me on this and not just like.
No, I'm agreeing with the fact that Joe Burrow tried to scope out all the Olivias in the world. What type of ridiculous?
Just put Olivia in the search bar and she came up because she's got like 5 million followers.
I mean, I shouldn't.
I shall date her.
Shouldn't give this hack away, but I know some men, not me, who put women in under guys' names. Like
that's classic.
In their phone.
Right.
Yeah, like Doug is really Melanie.
But how do you keep it straight, according to EJ?
Well,
no, I'm sure it causes all kinds of confusion.
Got to name them Pizza Hut or Domino's.
I understand.
Imagine if the woman finds that. She's like, you named me Potbelly? Or what? I don't know what the most offensive
Blimpies.
Yeah, Blimpies.
No, I get, like, from, I guess, Joe Burrow's perspective, if your second woman has the same name, then you can't accidentally call either one of them the wrong name.
Yep.
Oh, like in the throws of passion type of
or
thing?
anything.
Or
anything.
Yeah, but it's not helping you from the outside because, like, who cares what what Jamar Chase thinks you're doing? Like, you need to protect, keep girl one from girl two, whatever their names are.
Well, if someone calls, like in this example, now this was different because it was police, but if someone's like, "Oh, it's Olivia. I'm trying to find Joe," I think anybody would be like, "Oh, Joe, your fiance called," and it could be girl number two. Like, if she's trying to contact him, contacting agents, contacting whatever, it doesn't affect anything as long as she's not saying I'm Olivia Bonton or whatever.
Yeah. I think, EJ, it's smart, but there's a shelf life on it.
EJ, don't cheat on your girlfriend. Don't get a second girlfriend, EJ. It's not going to go well.
And I'm not saying that this worked for him, clearly. I'm saying that I think he thought this to be an advantage, which is how I started this.
I mean, the guy bought the Batmobile. Maybe he thinks he's Batman when it comes to this kind of thing.
Bro, like, you know how many Sports Illustrated swimsuit models are not named Olivia? He could literally find anyone else. I think it's weird that his fiance has the same name as this woman.
No, there are no coincidences, according to Aaron Rodgers. So
now you lump me up with that guy. Now I feel like an
idiot. There is actual football news this morning as well.
What did they steal, by the way? Sorry.
We still don't know because when these calls were made, he obviously wasn't there to go through it with police, and she didn't. How do they describe it? A non-itemized list of things that could be missing is what they got from her.
Other weird, and I know there's other things to get to, but other weird detail from this story is that there was actually a police officer who was either there or in the vicinity, because the NFL's taking this really seriously, that Mahomes and Kelsey both got their houses broken into. And I think from what I read, there actually was a police officer there.
I think an off-duty cop working security, because in the extended 911 call, she asked for somebody's name. He gives it, and the 911 operator confirms that
it's a cop.
Yeah, he's okay to deal with or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, this is getting very serious with these. We were joking before, but these burglaries, because it's not just the NFL. Bobby Porter's had that long video he put out.
Right.
He was kind of the beginning of this, and they think that there's a ring of people robbing or burglarizing sports athletes.
Well, it's so obvious where they are.
Yeah, they're in the Midwest.
No, I'm just saying
right.
They're on the road. They're like
right,
everyone in the world knew Joe Burrow was in Dallas.
These big three examples have been all Kansas City, Milwaukee, now Cincinnati.
Yeah. That's a good point. Oh, that's interesting.
The actual football news, the Browns releasing wideout Kadarius Toney a few days after he was called for taunting and muffing a punt in a loss to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. You guys mentioned this last hour. Mike Tomlin saying yesterday it is highly unlikely wideout George Pickens plays this weekend against the Eagles with his hamstring injury. He did not play last Sunday either. Apparently the S in SGA stands for semifinal.
Shea, step back shot. SGA buries one from deep, right over Klay Thompson.
Oh, the NBA Cup's my favorite thing ever.
You're working hard here, Bogusch. You really are.
I like that one. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, 39 points to lead the Thunder into the NBA Cup semis, 118-104 over the Mavs. Lou Dort can't wait for this weekend in Vegas.
It's a pleasure. I mean, we was playing for something, and then now we got it. Now we go ahead to Vegas and trying to finish the job.
That's from FanDuel Sportsnet Oklahoma. The Bucks in the Final Four as well, sending the Magic home 114-109. Giannis with 37 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks. The other quarters are tonight, Knicks-Hawks, then Warriors-Rockets. Jimmy V Classic at the Garden last night. Men's number 1, Tennessee, down to Miami, 75-62. Then number 14, Michigan, came up short against Arkansas, 89-87. Perloff's friend, Boogie Flan, 20 points and 7 assists for the Razorbacks. Spencer Horwitz had a busy Tuesday. The Blue Jays dealing the first baseman to Cleveland for second baseman Andres Jimenez. Then the Guardians sent him on to Pittsburgh for 3 minor leaguers. The Yankees, meanwhile, spending some cash, $218 million over 8 years on former Braves lefty Max Fried. The Rangers reportedly keeping veteran righty starter Nathan Eovaldi 3 years and $75 million. And we had overtime hockey in New Jersey last night.
The shot blocked by Stolars. Puck goes out at center and the foot race is on. Trying to get to it, Matthews. Matthews is in! Scores! Holy Mackinac! Austin Matthews wins the game in overtime!
That's Joe Bowen on Leafs Radio. Austin Matthews getting Toronto a 2-1 win over the Devils and former head coach Sheldon Keefe. Guys, back to you.
Man, I got another detail for you on this Joe Burrow house break-in. How about this? So we said Joe Burrow's house got broken into while he was in Dallas, and the woman who called 911 when she realized the house had been broken into is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model who happens to have the same name as apparently Joe Burrow's fiance. They're not the same lady, so maybe there's a messy aspect to this, a little salacious. But the serious part is that the house got broken into and things got stolen. So the mom, the swimsuit model's mom called 911. The swimsuit model called 911. Dispatchers, I'm reading this in Cincinnati Enquirer. Dispatchers also received a third call from a woman named Katie, air quotes. She had called New York City Police Department, who connected her with the Hamilton County Police. Why would somebody call NYPD about Joe Burrow's house being broken into in Cincinnati?
Also, if you call 911, doesn't it just go to whoever your local operator is?
No, she called the New York City Police Department. I don't think she called 911.
So I'm saying,
she must have called, I'm sure they have a number.
Yeah. She called a 212 number?
Someone named Katie called
crazy.
New York City Police, connected, and then they connected I'm sorry, you have the wrong state. Anyway, that's odd.
That is, unless she was in New York and somehow she got the home alarm.
alert.
That's
It
what I was
said
thinking.
she reported the incident and confirmed with the dispatcher that police had arrived at the scene.
so she's in Ohio.
She's
that
in
makes
Ohio,
no
called
sense.
the New York NYPD.
Well, I was actually wondering. So Joe left for Dallas on what, Saturday? Or?
They said this happened between 1:30 Sunday afternoon and then 8 o'clock Monday night is when she showed up. So I guess he left sometime on Sunday.
Yeah. So what's Olivia doing alone in Cincinnati when Joe's in? She's just hanging
an employee.
out. Oh,
Yeah,
Working at the house.
She had to work that night when he got back from the game.
Well, he probably didn't get back till really late. Trust me, I stayed up for that game. It was annoying.
And then you didn't fly home from Dallas.
No, I did meet Olivia.
Right.
And he forgot to leave the car.
You mean Doug?
Yeah. No, there's no Dougs in my phone.
Perloff
Except for
said-
Doug. I know this guy Doug. He's actually named Doug.
Some men save women's names under men's names in their phones to throw off their significant others.
Any boogies on your phone there, Perloff? I saw some confusion when Boogie Flan was brought up.
Yeah.
You already forgot that, right?
Totally.
Yep. As we predicted.
Manny's offended. It's this guy. 855-212-4227. This bro thing is weird. Okay, we have a lot more to do, including this idea for college football that I am loving about the college football playoff. Stay tuned.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on this fine Wednesday. Got a great debate at the top of the hour, Perloff. But, okay, the college football playoff bracket is set. We'll get more into it as next week and a half. We got Army-Navy this weekend. We got the Heisman this weekend. And then the first round matchups start next weekend, next Friday. But already people are upset with the format because this was, kind of a test balloon, first year of 12 teams. You got the automatic buys for the conference champions. And obviously the SEC is very upset because they only got 3 teams into the bracket because SMU got in, even though they lost the ACC championship game to Clemson in a walk-off field goal situation. So there's already ideas that are being floated and being leaked to people in the media. And one of them I love. And this comes to Dennis Dodd from CBS, has been a guest on the show. The idea that you would really beef up conference championship weekend because not only would the number 1 and number 2 teams in the conference play each other, you would also have essentially play-in games for the next 3 and 4 seed and 4 and 5 seed. No, what am I doing here? 3 and 4, 5 and 6. I can count. 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Right. And the winners of those play-in games, air quotes, would also get automatic qualifying bids into the main bracket.
Right, well, 3 would play 6 and 4 would play 5.
Yeah. I don't think
that's correct.
That's it? 3?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You would have 3 play 4.
Sorry, the top 6 teams in the Big Ten and the SEC would all play on conference championship weekend with more automatic qualifying bids on the table.
Yeah, terrible idea.
Well, I like it.
Any regulation every time they put a new rule that regulates who's in there, it causes nothing but problems. That's why you have this mess in the first place. Like, just give me the top 12 teams. Actually, give me the top 16 teams in this case. Just stop, because all these rules are eventually going to cause some bizarre situation. Why not just put the top 12 teams in?
Well, because it might be 14. Before they go to 16, they may eventually get to 16, but they would go to 14 here. And why I like this is because, first of all, it makes championship weekend a lot better. Because this championship weekend was good because the games were good. Like, Texas goes to overtime with Georgia. You had that crazy walk-off win with SMU and Clemson, the walk-off field goal. But there were also some blowouts, too. It could have been a lot better. Let's put it that way. It wasn't like I couldn't go out Saturday night because, I think that they could have beefed this up, and I think it would do that. Number 2, totally gets rid of the committee. Do we really need the committee now? Now, your idea would also get rid of the committee, but this one really does.
No.
Because it'd just be a solid ranking. Then teams are playing each other. So here's how it would flesh out. You would have, if it's a 14-team playoff bracket, 8 automatic bids, right? Because you would have the champion from the SEC and the champion from the Big Ten, plus 3 more automatic qualifiers. The loser of that game, of the championship game, and then 2 more play-in games. So that's 8 automatic bids. You get another automatic for the ACC champ, another automatic for the Big 12 champ, another automatic for the Group of 5 champ. So that's 11 bids that are automatic, and then 3 at large.
Yeah. And
awesome.
Don't you see this causing a major problem down the road?
I don't think so.
Why? I mean, why do we have a problem now? Because the rules, just get rid of all, regulations. Just pick the best teams. Because That's, again and again and again, we run into these problems. College football is all messed up because it's not like the NFL where you could create some sort of even schedule. There's just always going to be weird situations where basically the more you regulate it, the more vulnerable you are to a rule screwing things up. You're going to maybe get some really bad teams out of this group. Say the Big Ten is down one year and the SEC is way up or the ACC is way up and this system's in place. What if you get like a 7-5 Maryland team knocks out like a 9-3 Mississippi team?
Well, no, because wouldn't the Big Ten play the Big Ten and the SEC? See, this is
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, it could be 9-3 Penn State or whoever.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like, if you're saying, what if it's a down year for the Big Ten and a good year for the ACC? That's not going to matter because
sure will, because you're adding so many automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten.
No, but what do you keep telling me? The Big Ten and the SEC hold unnatural weight in this process, right? And that's
what's actually natural weight. They should hold this weight. They're way better.
Okay, so if you think they're way better and they're such a better conference than a quote-unquote down year, wouldn't you think they would still deserve to have more automatic bids?
No, honestly, I think the bottom of the Big Ten is so bad this year, too, that I think just like any rule you put on it is going to cause a problem because you don't need any of them. Just put the best teams. Well, what's wrong with it? And I would go 16 now. I think 12 just didn't quite work.
So the reason why they might not be able to go straight from 12 to 16, they might have to go to 14, is because there's already a TV contract that's in place between College Football Playoff Committee and ESPN. It's from 2026 to the year 2031, and it's for $7.8 billion. And that's for 12. So essentially, you'd be asking ESPN to pony up even more money because you decided to add more teams and more games. So ESPN's going to have to be like, wait a minute, we bought one thing, and now you're trying to oopsie-doops us into another. They might have a say in that.
Yeah. Again, though, like, what's the point of all these regulations? Like, I know because conferences are just desperately trying to hold on to their power and get, the Big Ten and SEC, there's a lot of people get paid a lot of money to run those conferences and they want to be important. But generally, though, like, again, like any rule you put on it is just like adding a layer that it's not even necessary. Like, what value does it add? If the committee was smart, they could see that 8-3 SEC team is better than a 10-1 ACC team. Like, you got to give them credit just to figure this out on their own, in my mind.
Well, sometimes the rankings don't reflect that, though.
Yeah, but the point is, you're going to have. I know, but you're going to have.
Indiana was a top 5 team. And did anyone think they were really, and I know they're in this bracket, but did people really think they were the 5th best team in the country? So the just a straight ranking may not solve this either.
It may not solve it, but again, you're setting up some really potential difficult situations. Like some bad teams could come out of this particular system.
And to Perloff's point, if we did this model this year, you would have had Iowa, Illinois, and LSU having the ability to get an automatic qualifier.
But they would have had to win a game to get that qualifier in a winner-take-all.
Yeah, but they're not beating Ohio State. Or maybe, I don't think they would play Ohio State. But you know what I'm saying? They're beating LSU would have beat like Ole Miss. Or like they wouldn't even have to have played Georgia or someone like that. They would have to play a lesser team to get in. So in my way, to me, it's like if you're trying to get the best 14 or 12, whatever, I don't know how this gets you the best team. You're going to get in some like we had to see Iowa in this tournament. I mean, I mean, get the NyQuil, man. Like this that would be rough.
But here's the thing: it would be Iowa in a play-in game in championship weekend. That you're not guaranteed that you're going to get into the tournament.
No, you're not guaranteeing it, but like you're opening the door for an Iowa team that we know doesn't deserve to be in the college football playoff. They just don't. They're not good.
Okay, but here's the thing, EJ. If you're going to expand, most likely anyway, what generally happens when we expand? We see this with the basketball tournament. It's just more mediocre mid-majors. Or not mid-majors, more mediocre teams from major conferences, like middle of the pack. And sometimes you get NC State, and that's really awesome. Like we got NC State, which was kind of middling team in the ACC, the basketball, and they end up going to the Final Four, and it was great. But generally, it doesn't go to the cool Tulanes and the fun other group of 5 teams. It's going to end up going to the Ole Misses and the LSUs and the middling teams that are not they're all middling, but middling teams in major conferences.
Yeah, the Big Ten's going to get UCLA in this bad boy, and that system's going to blow up again. These people are going to be so upset.
855-212-4227. We still have plenty to talk about with the actual college football playoff bracket. And it's Wednesday, which means great debate.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
It's chaos in the sports world today. Maggie and Perloff exposing the play. Mascots cheating, love on the run, while Peter Bellatti's nowhere. Again, what fun! Benny the Bull's been sneaking with flair, but where's Bellotti? He's just not there. Gritty's caught with the Philly-style kiss. Meanwhile, Pete's still on the absentee list. Mascot scandals, love in disguise. Bellatti's missing, no surprise. Zach Jubb's got Amy Lawrence's chair. No one's safe in this office affair. Philly fanatics been double timing with Stuff the Dragon. Sparks are flying. Bernie Brewer's been drinking too much. Caught with the moose, can't keep out of touch. Back at the station, Jubb's on the prowl. Snatched Amy's chair with a victorious howl. Bellatti's MIA, what's his excuse? Probably watching mascots cut loose. Mascot scandals, love in disguise. Bellatti's missing, no surprise. Zach Jubb's got Amy Lawrence's chair. No one's safe in this office affair.
Corbuccio wipes the bottom of his sneakers. He's guarded by Lawson. Play in action. Corbuccio gets the screen from Ratliff. Corbuccio driving, finds Ratliff, free throw line, Jay, yes! Clock continues to run. Panthers have one final chance. Here's Kennedy. Kennedy with 5, step back, Jay, yes! Oh, Josiah Kennedy! Ice cold! Timeout Stepanek!
Believe Bellatti's got something to say. Infinity's mice, he's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC, what a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie, Perloff, can you hear this plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses Mar. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out, boo, boo. Bring it back, oh can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right.
Manny and EJ, they're diehard Knicks fans, living in the Big Apple. They're part of the grand plan, but they just witnessed the crushing defeat. 76ers taking the victory, man. That's hard to beat. Sitting in the studio talking about the game. Maggie and Perloff, it ain't all the same. Perloff's a Philly fan. It's hard to stand when your team's on top and your heart's in your hand. Man, Manny and EJ, they're lost and confused. Knicks played hard, but it wasn't what they used to. Every missed shot, every turn, oh, they saw leaving them shocked. They can't believe what they're in for.
Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction. Said that he got
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Drama in Philadelphia. Perloff thinks it's a good thing. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Get to our great debate on this fine Wednesday in just a moment. But yes, you got the star quarterback, the star wide receiver. They don't have a good relationship. It's personal, according to All-Pro Brandon Graham, who put that out in local radio. And Perloff, you're trying to spin this into a positive for your Birds.
Yes, I like a little tension, a little infighting, keep them on their toes. I don't want any complacency. I mean, to me, this is like there's two superpowers, Eagles, or three. They have this crazy good offensive line. They have Saquon Barkley, and they have Jalen Carter just murdering people on defense, and a pretty good young secondary. So those are way more important. There was something weird. The Panthers game, they just didn't seem to want to drop back and pass the ball at all. They have this new, it's all over the NFL, by the way. It's not just the Eagles. Like
the run game is in.
The run game is such a thing. So, of course, receivers are getting upset.
Thank you to Kyle Shanahan for that. This sort of, runs. And I know that Shanahan, Purdy also will throw the ball, but Shanahan's always run first. And I think there's a lot of Shanahan acolytes who are out there coaching in the NFL. And maybe this is also just a zag to these wide open passing attacks, but you're seeing it with your Eagles, you're seeing it with my Buffalo Bills. Like, trying to get to the run game is the most important part. You even see it with the Detroit Lions, with the two-headed monster of Sonic and Knuckles, or whatever they're calling themselves, David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs.
Well, it's funny. Joe Brady, though, does not have a Shanahan. I don't think he's a Shanahan guy. And the Eagles, Kellen Moore is a different. Kellen Moore used to be a pass crazy guy, and now he's going to the run. So it is definitely a thing. That's why I think that's the gist of this. Wide receivers. It's just if you don't get targets, you get mad. They don't care about wins or losses. They're receivers. They're so famous for that. I mean, imagine, I heard someone say this, imagine being the most talented player on the field and you touch the ball 4 times in a game. And maybe that was said on our show. Yeah, it's just really, really difficult mentally to figure all that out.
Yeah, and you know what I say to that? Well, A.J. Brown still makes $30 million a year. That's what the money's for, to steal from Mad Men. The money is so you understand that sometimes you're not going to get the ball as much. And this is the thing.
I don't think competitors think like that. I don't think the money matters in that situation.
But here's the thing. It's what's also good for the team, number one. And number two, I would have thought this was just a football-only thing also until Brandon Graham came out and said it's personal between the two guys. So I'm not inventing this. People aren't inventing this. This is someone who knows that locker room better than anybody. Brandon Graham has been with the Eagles for 15 years. He's a captain. Now he happens to be hurt, but that doesn't matter. He's rehabbing at the facility. He knows everything that's going on. And I can't imagine someone saying, yeah, I'd rather have the waters be rocky than smooth sailing. You're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, they look so good right now, except for last week. But the fact that they beat up the Rams and beat up the Ravens, like, this is not the Eagles team I'm used to. This is an even different team than the Super Bowl team. Super Bowl team was really good on offense. This team is very different.
855-212-4227. We get to our college-themed great debate in just a moment. But Phil is our pal in Pennsylvania who's currently rocking blue hair.
Yep, that's me. Hey, Maggie. Hey, Perloff. How you doing this morning?
Good.
First off, Sirianni, if he does not fix this, he is going to get fired no matter how far the Eagles get. Because last year he didn't fix it. And his, good graces of 3 straight playoff trips, he spent that last year. If he doesn't fix this and it ends in disaster, he's gone.
What's define disaster? Like going out in the first round of the playoffs?
First round of the playoffs, or even second round of the playoffs. If they make the Super Bowl, might be able to get a little bit of grace, but anything short of Super Bowl, he's gone. Secondly, this is a situation basically the same thing as last year in Buffalo, where they had to make a choice between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, where I think it was like whoever is the best at their position got to stay. Josh Allen is a much better quarterback than Stephon Diggs was at wide receiver. But for the Eagles, I think it's separate. I think A.J. Brown is a better wide receiver than Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. So at the end of the year, if they don't fix this, I think they'll trade Hurts, keep A.J. Brown, because Hurts is just like mid right now, and half of the NFL is full of running quarterbacks. You can just get another one on a cheap rookie deal. And with this young defense, I think they'd be a lot better without Hurts in the building.
Wow, Phil, you know how rare it is that the quarterback doesn't win that battle?
Just watch it. I mean, seriously, he's gun shy, and that is something you don't want. Yes, he is, not turn the ball over, but you want someone that's actually going to be decisive and confident and going for it, not someone that's going to be. Well, last week, this is my last point. Last week, he had 4 seconds to pass before he got sacked. He got sacked 4 times. That's the highest of any quarterback in the entire NFL. If Jalen Hurts goes somewhere else without the offensive line, he gets smushed in 2.5 seconds, and he's even worse. Put even a marginally better quarterback in there with that time, and they light him up for, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns per game.
Phil, I mean, you're coming with the stats. You're bringing the receipts. But the one part you're not bringing is the salary. The Bills did get rid of Stephon Diggs. They took a massive cap hit to do it. They had to retool the whole team. They're paying both guys a lot of money, but they're paying Hurts way more money.
I'm sure they can find a sucker to, offset some of that. Just send him to Jerry's world.
Oh, send him to Dallas to be Dak's backup?
Phil, you're talking about the Panthers. Like, when the Eagles needed a drive, what happened? Like, Hurts started throwing it and just ran right down.
The ball.
They did get it, but they shouldn't even been put in that position.
They stormed down the field about 3 seconds. Then they pinned the Panthers at the 1-yard line in the next drive. Like, they just were not trying in this game. When Hurts
did happen, it wasn't a perfect game. Yeah. But upcoming, my bold prediction, in the Pittsburgh game, it's not going to be Jalen's arm that loses us the game. It's going to be Jake's leg. If he misses, we'll lose us the game.
The kicker, Jake Elliott's having some major trouble. Hey, Phil, can I ask you a question? Can you send us photos periodically to Maggie and Perloff at gmail.com so we can see that blue hair kind of in various different stages?
Well, the blue is actually staying well, and the purple is fading a little bit, so it's a little more gray on the purple side.
We'd love some video evidence of this. You can text it to Maggie and Perloff at gmail.com.
All right. Hopefully it goes through.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you. Have a good day.
That is, by the way, the most Eagles call ever. That might as well be WIP radio. The Eagles are 11-2. Let's cut the quarterback. The problem is, he brings up a good point. Yeah, definitely A.J. Brown's a better receiver than Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, but you can't get another quarterback. You get a million other receivers. Right? This is an opportunity cost. If Jalen Hurts is gone, who's the quarterback? Kenny Pickett?
Let's get to the great debate.
The Great Debate Series.
All right, we do this every Wednesday at this time. The Maggie and Perloff Great Debate. We loosely base this on the news. So what is happening on Saturday night?
Heisman.
The Heisman. Yay. Travis Hunter, major favorite. Ashton Genty. It's going to be a fun night in New York, even if we feel like we already know the outcome. But that's generally the case. Anyway, we got thinking about the Heisman. And we got thinking about snubs. And our great debate today is, what is the greatest and biggest Heisman Trophy snub of all time? Perloff also has a thought on this year's Heisman class that we'll share with you in just a little bit. Not a fan, put it mildly. But let's get to it. Who is the biggest Heisman snub of all time? Mr. Perloff, the floor is yours.
Who's the best college football player anyone in this room has ever seen? There's only one appropriate answer. Vince Young, right? Texas. We all saw the game. Actually, Manny, you might not.
Manny definitely did.
Did Vince Young win the Heisman Trophy? No, he did not.
He did not.
He lost it to Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was great. Listen, I'm a super fan, and he was amazing at USC, but a little bit of a system thing going on there. Vince Young is above any system. He should have won the Heisman. Apparently, he was not happy when he came in second. By far, to me, of anybody you guys are going to name, Vince Young is a better player, and therefore he's my biggest Heisman snub.
4th and 5, the national championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it.
Which game was that?
That's the national championship game.
That's actually, yeah, I know. The problem is the voting came before that. So the voting that year was USC's Reggie Bush was 1, Vince Young was 2, and Matt Leinart was 3. Our guy Brady Quinn 4, by the way. But obviously, like, the USC guys, to me, should have canceled out because Vince Young was a one-man show for that Texas team, and that he was incredible. Not a great NFL player, but probably the best college player I've ever seen. So, therefore, he's my biggest Heisman snub.
It's a great one. Vince Young is the greatest Heisman Trophy snub. All right, my nominee for this was snubbed so much that they didn't even come in second or third or even fourth. This person came in fifth place. And just because it happened in 1956 doesn't mean that it isn't relevant. Jim Brown is the biggest Heisman Trophy snub.
Only touchdown slow motion camera can slow the great Jim Brown. Behind a wall of fast-breaking blocks, Brown swings around in and knocks everyone out of his way. At the 30, he's almost clear, but cadet Bob Kayaski close in on him. Brown tries to cut between them, but Rose spills him with a necktie tackle.
Send a salami to your boy of the Army. It sounds so old, but it was. 1956, Jim Brown, who finished again in fifth place, despite being third in the nation in rushing yards at 986 yards. He scored 14 touchdowns. He played one fewer game than the other guys on this list, and he led Syracuse University to the Cotton Bowl. They had never been ranked as high as 8th, and he was the reason. And what's even more egregious about Jim Brown not winning the Heisman in 1956 is not because he came in 5th, again, which is silly. The guy who won it is another very famous player named Paul Hornung, who won the Heisman Trophy because he was the quarterback of Notre Dame. And it was played a lot of positions, but was the quarterback of Notre Dame. Notre Dame was 2-8 that year. Paul Hornung threw 3 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Not only that, the Fighting Irish were blown out in so many games that season. They dropped 4 of 8 contests by 25 points or more. And he won the Heisman over Jim Brown, who led Syracuse to unprecedented heights and was clearly the best player in college football at the time. That's your biggest Heisman Trophy snub.
How is Jim Brown third in rushing that year?
Because he played fewer games.
Jeez.
Johnny Majors was second, if you were wondering. Yeah, very famous.
Who's he? Yeah,
and Oklahoma had the next 2 finishers.
Tommy McDonald, Hall of Famer, too.
Tommy McDonald's in the Hall of Fame, and their offensive lineman, Jerry Tubbs, was 4th in the Heisman, and then Jim Brown. All right, EJ, go ahead. We're doing biggest Heisman Trophy snubs this morning.
So it's rare that we do a great debate within a sports season like the football season, and I actually used the same answer from a different debate. So we asked a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, who was the greatest freshman of all time? And I said the great Adrian Peterson. And then Perloff asking who's the greatest college football player I've ever seen. It's not Vince Young. It's Adrian Peterson. And Adrian Peterson's freshman year, he lost on a technicality. Like, Vince Young lost fair and square. Jim Brown may have lost racism, but we'll leave that alone.
Definitely racist.
Adrian Peterson lost purely because he was a freshman and he didn't play enough college football for him to get the award. But Adrian Peterson wowed fans with plays like this.
Gets it. Running to the left side, spinning away, and he is gone. 8 consecutive games he's run for 100 yards or more, and he just streaked for that one. He has tied Poe James' record.
You just heard that 8 consecutive games running for 100 yards. Again, some of these numbers, 225 against Texas, 249 against Oklahoma State, 240 against Baylor, 172 against Colorado in the Big 12 championship game. Adrian Peterson doing this as a freshman was phenomenal. I think the fact that he didn't win was a complete joke. This is prior to the whole we just give the quarterback the award every year.
Yeah.
They still gave this one to Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart was great, but Adrian Peterson was by far the best player in college football that year. Peterson is the greatest snub in the history of the Heisman voting.
Wait, did you say he's the best college player you've ever seen? Or?
Yes, better than Vince Young.
Do you think he's the best? Is he better than Barry Sanders was in college?
I didn't watch Barry Sanders. You said I watched.
Got it.
Let's not get off track. Today's great debate is not greatest college football player. It's greatest Heisman snub, the biggest snub for the Heisman.
Adrian Peterson is my Bruce Bochy. Just picking for everything.
That's a throwback to our pal Pete Pilati. Okay, Manny, who do you got?
I am going back to a time that I can't even fathom. I'm going so far back. The year is 1997.
Wow. How much did milk cost back then?
Who knows?
Did they have milk?
Who knows what was even going on in 97? I don't, because that was the year I was born. Didn't contribute anything to society. But you know who did contribute to society? Some guy at Tennessee who threw for 3,800 yards, over 3,800 yards, 36 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing, an 11-1 record. National runner-up.
Yeah.
But a loss to Florida in September is what
it's clear you weren't there.
A loss to Florida in September.
Are you reading this out of a history book?
Is your
I just
grandfather
did one from
whispering in your ear?
1956, and I feel like I was more convincing than you're being about 1997, Manny.
Well, but tell that doesn't make sense to me. How can a game in September end up costing Peyton Manning the Heisman Trophy?
That's weird.
97 makes no sense. Peyton Manning, that season, you take a look at the stats, Peyton Manning over Charles Woodson? Come on, man.
Peyton Manning is having a wonderful day, but I think it's a little bit more Jamal Lewis time. Control the line of scrimmage. And all of a sudden you see Kentucky start to bring a lot of people up.
Play fake, they bite. Close pattern. Touchdown. Marcus Nash's third of the day.
Peyton Manning was good that year. And the fact that they gave it to the guy who had just 7 interceptions, that whatever, bro. That doesn't make sense to me.
Only 7?
Only 7.
They played like 11 games that year.
Bogusch, last one. You get the final word here. The biggest Heisman Trophy snub is who?
I'm going to blow Manny's mind even farther. There was a year called 1995.
Good God.
And Nebraska was the best team in the country.
The Cornhuskers?
They scored 53 points a game, including 62 on Florida in the Fiesta Bowl to clinch the national title with this man playing quarterback.
Frazier adding more numbers, more yards to those. Big, they don't have him yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
As EJ said, there was a time where they didn't just give it to the best quarterback on the best team. Tommy Frazier was the best quarterback on the best team that year, but he lost the Heisman. 2,000 scrimmage yards, 31 total TDs, but he loses to Ohio State running back Eddie George.
Oof.
Right.
Eddie George is pretty good, though.
He was, and had the better pro career, obviously, but Tommy Frazier was the face, he was the face of the best team in college football and didn't win the Heisman.
All right, there you have it. Today's great debate, the biggest Heisman Trophy snubs of all time. I'm glad that Manny could leaf through the history books to find Peyton Manning. Manny, you're the best. I love the fact that 1997 is ancient history. It's so awesome.
It's a great visual. Him sitting in a library, opening up a huge book. As dust flies out. He's like, 1997?
Blows the dust off the book.
Losses to Florida still matter?
Florida.
I haven't read a textbook since 2008.
So there you go. Who do you have? The greatest Heisman Trophy snub of all time. I mentioned Perloff not very big on this Heisman class. We'll get to that in just a moment and lots more for you. It's M&P.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie, it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's a great night for Prize Picks. There's so many sports going on. If you don't know Prize Picks, it's the best. You can make your holidays and the whole December bigger and brighter with Prize Picks. The best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. It's made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on their projection. You can win up to 200 times your money. And I am all over the NBA tonight. I think I'm going to pick Mikal Bridges just because DJ won't shut up about him. It's the best.
Well, if I didn't say Merry Picksmas to all and to all a good night, it is Picksmas season with Prize Picks in December. Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks this month. They're giving away $30+ million in rewards, all happening right now. So download the Prize Picks app. It's available to play in more than 40 states, including California and Texas. Again, download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code MNP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks. Get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
All right, welcome back, Mag. Back on Maggie and Perloff Show. So we're doing Great Debate Wednesday. Greatest Heisman snub, our biggest Heisman snub of all time. I went with Vince Young. Texas lost to Reggie Bush.
I went with Jim Brown, who not just lost, he came in 5th place and lost it to Paul Hornig, who quarterbacked a 2-8 Notre Dame team. Do we think something was amiss back in 1956? I believe so. EJ decided to go with Adrian Peterson, who he believes is also one of the greatest college football players ever, period. Didn't get the Heisman as a freshman. Manny is going with a guy he was unfamiliar with his college work until recently, and that is Peyton Manning. from all the way back in 1997.
Manning also played for the Colts, by the way, Manny, before the Broncos, just in case.
Before he did the Manning cast, he was a quarterback. And Bogusch went with Tommy Frazier. We're asking you, who is the greatest Heisman snub of all time? Derek is in San Diego. Derek, who do you have?
Hey, in 1992, this Pro Football Hall of Famer and San Diego State Aztec rushed for 1,600 yards, averaged almost 150 yards per game with 15 touchdowns, and lost the Heisman Trophy to Gino Torretta.
Oof.
And that is Marshall Faulk. Absolutely brutal.
Well, and the mystique of Miami was obviously much. Well, listen, Cam Ward comes full circle because Cam Ward is a finalist in New York this weekend. But yeah, Derek, I mean, Marshall Faulk was unreal. Do you think that San Diego State was the reason why he didn't win?
100%. It was. And San Diego State was fun back in those days. They would have, your 51 to 50 losses to BYU, and Dan McGuire's throwing the football all over the yard, and
Derek,
Marshall Faulk were running wild. But the bottom line is San Diego State was in the WAC or Mountain West or whatever they call it. So 100%.
Derek, let me tell you why. Because I was on the East Coast and a big Marshall Faulk fan, and the games are on at 10 o'clock at night here. So that screwed him. I'm sorry, and it's not his fault at all. But nobody, like half the voters are on the East Coast. They didn't stay up for Marshall Faulk back then.
Yeah, true story. That's the whole thing with and I mean, even most recently the Pac-12. I mean, no one on the East Coast watched the Pac-12, and that's why I love that my Ducks are sitting at number 1, baby.
There you go.
Go
Good
Ducks.
luck to your Ducks. I wish they had gotten a little bit more of a reward for being the number 1 overall seed, but we covered that a lot on Monday. We'll see how they do. They get a bye. They await the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee. We're asking for the biggest Heisman snubs of all time. John is in Ohio with a recent one. Hey, John.
There is only one person. I mean, the way you have to ask this question. Christian McCaffrey. He did everything. Catching passes, running, return punts, kicks. The only reason he lost that, 8 of his games that year were played after 10:30, and all those fat, no-good sports writers had their asses in bed.
Wait a minute, though, John.
I'm still fired up about it because it's been 8 years, and he got screwed.
2015 was the year. I actually interviewed McCaffrey at that time. At that, they do like a media availability before the ceremony. He lost to Derrick Henry, though, John. It's not that Derrick Henry wasn't.
Derrick Henry, I thought it was Lamar Jackson.
No, he lost to Derrick Henry, I believe. 2015, right?
We'll double check that. But John, here's the thing about it: every Stanford running back ran for 2,000 yards. Like that was a thing back then, right? Like
Toby Gerhart ran for 2,000.
Toby Gerhart and the other guy too, like set all kinds of records. So I think everyone thought that was the system until Christian McCaffrey killed it in the NFL. Like, oh, it's maybe more than the system. Gerhart, I think, didn't he challenge the all-time single season record, the Rondane? So anyway, yeah, I think that was the rub. Are we doing like sort of Monday morning quarterback because McCaffrey is the best NFL player out of that? I think you're in danger of doing that when you think of Heisman subs. I think that's what Manning did with Peyton Manning. I don't think if Peyton Manning was the best football player, he would have chosen him. I'm just kidding. Manning had no idea what he was doing.
Listen, I was covering that Heisman for Sports Illustrated. McCaffrey had a lot of heat around him. Like he was a huge deal. It was a huge deal, but the invite was also, not that it was a surprise, but that was a huge deal also. But Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson won in 2016. McCaffrey was a runner-up in 2015. Derrick Henry won that year.
And I'll have to check. Wasn't Toby Gerhart wasn't he in second place too?
Was he a runner-up? I don't know. I don't remember that.
By the way, McCaffrey did lose out to Henry. It was a pretty close vote. Henry had 378 votes. McCaffrey had 290. They both ran for over 2,000 yards.
And that was what year? Sorry.
That was 2015.
Yeah. No, it had the right year.
Henry had 28 touchdowns.
Gerhart lost to Mark Ingram in 2009, and I think it was one of the, I'll have to double check, it's one of the closest votes of all time. A bit of a system guy, Christian McCaffrey. Now he's with Shanahan. He looks good.
Yeah, I'm sure. Perloff, you're not too impressed with this class.
It's not that I'm not necessarily impressed. It's just like, where are like the big time star quarterbacks? Like, what is happening to who are they? Like, if I told you in the beginning of the year we're going to get a Colorado, Boise State, I guess Miami and Oregon are made. It's just a funny field. It's just a bizarre field. Like we were talking about, you used to have Matt Leinart, Vince Young, Reggie Bush, and some other like big star quarterback. I feel like the fact that we're having a two-way player, a Boise State running back, and two kind of like journeyman transfer portal quarterbacks it's interesting to me. I just feel like this is not like the big star class that I'm used to.
Well, I mean, I'm going to disagree. Travis Hunter has incredible star power. So the final four are Travis Hunter, who is the runaway favorite, Ashton Jeanty, of course, the running back from Boise, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, and Cam Ward from Miami. I love this class because Hunter is such an anomaly. You don't get this kind of guy who's playing this amount of snaps on both offense and defense, and is probably going to be a top 5 pick, and all these things. Playing for Deion Sanders, the Colorado resurrection. I think this is so huge and massive that he's took this different sort of route. Didn't
like
go to
Charles
Alabama.
Woodson,
But it's been a long time since Charles Woodson. And Dylan Gabriel is the quarterback on the number 1 team in the country.
He definitely deserves this for sure. But
and Cam Ward is
one
so
thing about
fun
Travis
to watch.
Hunter, Travis Hunter is a little bit confusing. He's probably the second biggest star on his own team, though.
Well,
I mean, Shador is a really big household name, too.
I think there's a lot of people who believe Shador should be in New York as well, not just his dad.
I think he should have gotten an invite, too. I think there's no reason you can't have two guys on one team. I kind of thought the same thing. But it just feels like, to me, just a bizarre field. And I don't know. Like, look at last year, I don't have it on top of my head. It was Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Penix. Like, I'm sorry, like, that is like, whoa, you have like 4 NFL quarterbacks at that. That's going to look good down the road.
Yeah, but you know what? This quarterback class might end up becoming one of the, I don't want to say best, can't say that right now, but this class from last year with Caleb and Jaden and Bo Nix and Penix, and we'll see what happens with J.J. McCarthy. This might go down as one of the great quarterback classes of all time. So, of course, the Heisman would match that. Totally.
It's just it's going to be an unusual thing. And I'm not sure the casual fan is so into this field yet. I think they're still getting familiar with him. I don't think the casual, I'm not sure Travis Hunter's crossover as much as you think he has.
Well, it's also just there's not a lot of drama here. I don't know what the odds are right now, but is it minus 1,000. He's the runaway favorite. Let's get to Bogusch, who has headlines, but keep them coming, guys. The biggest Heisman Trophy snubs of all time.
These headlines, guys, are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. The spin doctor might now be Doc Dreamy, like that episode from season 34 of Grey's Anatomy. Doc Rivers has nursed his Bucks back to health, so much so they're now in the NBA Cup semifinals.
At halftime, we were shooting 58%, and they were shooting 57%. So I don't think either coach was very happy defensively. And I told our guys, I said, the first team that plays defense goes to Vegas. Bottom line.
I'm not sure there was much defense after halftime either, Doc, with the Bucks and Magic combining for 104 points, but Damian Lillard did score 9 in the final minute. Milwaukee won 114-109. They'll be the only repeat team in the Final Four in Vegas. The Thunder claimed their spot with a 118-104 home win over the Mavs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 39, while the OKC held Luka Doncic to just 16 on 5 of 15 shooting. We knew Cowboys linebacker DeMarvion Overshown was hurt during yesterday's show. Now we know how badly. Torn ACL, MCL, and PCL. Obviously, he won't play again this season, but could he miss all of 2025 as well, Mike McCarthy?
I think that's fair. I mean, because, time of year, obviously we're in December. So, yes, I mean, I just think like anything, you have the surgery and then the rehab is a long process. But, I think that's very realistic.
So he misses his rookie season with a left knee injury, is a stud for 13 games this year, and now might not play again until 2026.
That is awful. You feel for the guy because he is so fun to watch, but there's a little with McCarthy, which is like, not my bro. Not that he doesn't feel bad for the guy, but I don't know if this is going to be an issue for him if he doesn't keep his job. Him having to game plan around the absence of Armin Overshown is not going to be his jurisdiction.
I don't know that it's done. I'm putting the odds at 50-50.
Then McCarthy returns.
Yes.
North Carolina offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey reportedly taking that same job at Michigan. He ran a top 10 unit just 2 seasons ago when Drake May was the Tar Heels QB. Men's college hoops last night, number 1 Tennessee handled Miami 75-62 in the Jimmy V Classic at the Garden. Those Hurricanes have now dropped 7 straight since a 3-0 start. Number 20 Wisconsin began 8-0, but now on a 3-game skid courtesy of last night's 86-80 loss at Illinois. The Yankees began wiping away the Juan Soto shame by signing Braves lefty Max Fried yesterday. 8 years, $218 million. That's the richest deal ever for a lefty starter. The Texas Rangers reportedly re-signing veteran righty Nathan Eovaldi and trading for Marlins infielder Jake Berger yesterday. Eovaldi gets $75 million over 3 seasons. Berger went deep 29 times for Miami last season. On ice, the Bruins' 4-game win streak ending with an 8-1 drubbing in Winnipeg. Calgary snapped its 8-game road drought 4-3 in Nashville, and the Avalanche overwhelmed the Penguins in Pittsburgh 6-2. 5-point nights for Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon. And UC Davis is joining the Mountain West as a non-football member. That gives the league 10 total schools, 8 of which do play football.
Guys, UC Davis? Don't they have a football team? Did Ken O'Brien go there?
I don't think they play FBS football.
Ah.
Yes.
Check that. Ken O'Brien. Remember Manny, him back when he was Jets quarterback in the 80s?
I don't.
0% chance.
That's basically would have to be like a cave painting to Manny. This is he has no clue about things that happened before the year 2000.
Hieroglyphics.
Does he know? And you're right, by the way. He did go to UC Davis.
Huh?
Yeah.
Perloff just wanted credit for the poll.
What stadium does UC Davis football play in, Manny?
You're gonna make Manny walk over the microphone because now Ray's sitting in the Stadium.
The UC Davis Aggies. Come on.
Yeah, that's not the Gauchos.
I dated a girl who lived in Davis, California once. I'm pretty much an expert.
Was she Brian in your phone?
No.
Anything else you want to share?
Well, they have a famous hot dog restaurant called the Hot Dogger there.
Okay.
And it's a pretty big college.
So you dated a girl from Davis, California, and then a girl from Idaho as well? Why could you
No.
stay in the Eastern time zone?
My ex-girlfriend's parents lived in Elk City, Idaho.
This is a separate girl?
Totally different girl. Yeah, I've had more than one girlfriend.
At least 3.
That's about it.
Yeah.
4, I think. Yeah.
But they're
Wait.
spread out. Mine are like a 4-block radius in Queens.
Bogusch, you looked at me like I was like, wait, you had more than one girlfriend?
Bogusch was like, wait a minute. Back up the truck for a second. You're telling me?
This is just a lot of geography. Now we're throwing Davis, California on top of a fancy Idaho town. That's all.
So
I'm a tiny boy from Delco. You're impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
dropping that you went to Kobe Bryant's high school really opens doors.
Listen,
looking like Seth from the OC.
If you think I was from Delco, you got another thing coming. I look down on Delco from Montgomery
I'm sure they'd
County.
love to hear that.
I'm from Montgomery County. Delco is where every NBA official is from. Literally every single one are from Delco.
Even Donaghy, right?
Yes. Definitely not. All
even the most disgraced one of all time.
Where do you think that gambling ring came from? It was from Delaware County, Pennsylvania. It's one of our points of pride.
Only the best and brightest.
Soft pretzels, cheesesteaks,
fixed NBA games,
and refs who fix NBA games.
Yeah, who have really tried to cover their tracks by calling on a cell phone and being like, Johnny's home tonight. Johnny's away tonight. It's a real sophisticated scheme. I'm shocked that they weren't shocked that Tim Donaghy got caught. Really surprised.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better than hitting a garbage can 3 rows back in the Astros Stadium for all the. I mean, there are no genius cheaters out there.
The ones that have gotten caught.
The ones that we don't know about.
Oh, gosh, I was thinking about this, guys. With Belichick kind of circling in, it looks like on this North Carolina job to take the Tar Heels job. I was like, all right, who's going to be Belichick's first hire?
I know where you're going.
Not Josh McDaniels, not Romeo Crennel. It's going to be Connor Stallions. You're telling me that Belichick wouldn't have seen that documentary on Stallions and been like, get me this guy?
No, what was the guy, the Ohio State Ninja guy? The
message board dude that ratted him out?
Yeah, who did the same thing that he does. It was watchful. But the thing is, Connor Stallions was grew up a Michigan fan. Nobody grew up a rabid North Carolina football fan. He might have to steal a basketball fan and be like, I know you love Tar Heel basketball. Can you come over? Has you ever met, wow, I'm a huge North Carolina football fan. Remember that?
Not off the tip of the head. But to be honest, like Stallions is going to get hired. He was thorough. I feel like Belichick would appreciate that kind of
Yeah, the manifesto kind of thing. Yeah.
Isn't he coaching the kid that Dave Portnoy just got to go to Michigan? Connor Stallions? Isn't he Bryce?
From high
really?
school.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But yes, Belichick in North Carolina, the secret weapon is not going to be Belichick's 6 rings or whatever. It's going to be getting Connor Stallions to come and videotape. Just bringing Spygate to the college level.
That's what North Carolina needs, more cheating scandals. Exactly what North Carolina, Chapel Hill needs.
I mean, to be honest, the last one was a little run-of-the-mill. I mean, you got people taking tests for you. Yawn. Sham classes, yawn.
You want sophisticated level of cheating at
we
this
need
point.
someone with a Central Michigan sweatshirt on and a pair of meta glasses.
Kind of like when you get hacked and like a company hires like, a Swedish hacker to be like, you need to redirect how this happened. Figure out how we can get around this in the future. You hire Bill Belichick.
Exactly.
He's the Swedish hacker in this scenario.
Sure.
Nobody saw the Ashley Madison.
I was going to say, is this like the plot for the girl with the dragon tattoo? I
Wait,
think
nobody saw the Ashley Madison documentary? Or just know anything about hacking?
Actually, I decided not to click on that. So I did not my wife to see that I've been watching the Ashley Madison doc on Netflix. Anyway, Bogusch, I know you had the same thought
Same
process.
decision.
Yeah. I know it got
You're like,
big
wait a minute,
numbers.
it was Doug.
Yeah.
You
Perloff's
can't change
alter
titles on
ego.
Netflix.
No, you can put it under your kid's profile. Do you guys
that's
have?
a better idea, Maggie.
There you
This
go.
is what you do. You get hackers to figure out how you got hacked. This is a thing.
And they come from Sweden?
Yes. Seriously. It's like usually one of these random Scandinavian countries.
Wait, just one last thing on the Ashley Madison doc. People know Ashley Madison was famously, I don't think it still exists, does it?
It does.
Oh, it does? And it will help
You'll learn
married
doc.
men cheat on their wives. But if it's this hot, if a lot of people watched it, clearly not a lot of people were thinking what you and Bogusch were thinking. Like, I don't want my wife to see this in the queue.
Oh, we definitely overthought this. Our wives couldn't have cared less about us watching that on Netflix.
No.
Although I gotta be honest, if I turn on Netflix and it was like, would you like to resume Ashley Madison doc? I'd be like, honey.
Better find a Swedish hacker to explain why you got this thing on your.
If he was watching it.
I wouldn't be upset. I would just endlessly give him crap for this.
The one thing
I'd start signing birthday cards, Ashley Madison. Like, I would just never let it go.
It is a scary reminder that your data is so not safe.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I mean, like I watched
Way to
like
bring
how
us
that.
down.
Juan
I
Soto's
actually
gonna
know
get
what happened
hurt.
there.
Your ID's
like
gonna
basically
get
anything that
stolen.
they say, don't worry, this is confidential. It ain't confidential.
Well, I just hate that everyone is asking you for something yesterday. Like yesterday I was at Kohl's, right? And they're like, all right, can we get your email, your address, your phone number, your date of birth? I'm like, I'm here trying to buy a freaking sweater. Like, why do you need all this information?
And it's like a deterrent. I ended up like not doing it. Whenever I face too many like things to get to whatever,
Forget
I
it.
say, all right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
I don't even want it. 855-212-4227. All right, that a little tangent there. Coming up, we have a surprise headline, but to be honest, not that shocking when you really think about it. We'll dive into the why of it all next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Any matcha experts out there?
See, I was just lamenting to the guys in the break. I said, I'm late to a couple things, and I realize I'm late to them. You know, sometimes you miss stuff, and you got to catch up. And I mentioned last segment, I was at Kohl's. I was just a little late to the party on Kohl's. I'm not even shilling for them. This is free. It's great. I got so much done there yesterday. And then the other was matcha, which is like this Argentinian drink. It's a tea. Has caffeine in it, and Perloff is telling me that it's pretty bad for you.
No, it's fine. But it's you probably get like a matcha drink at a store or something like.
It's like with almond milk.
Yeah. No, because that you like it, but people will add sugar. It's just a tea. It's a green tea.
Oh, okay. I'm late to this. I didn't.
Do you think there was like natural flavor? Because you love sugar.
I do love sugar, but I'm also trying to cut sugar out of my diet.
Well, you're basically drinking like a chai latte, which is.
I know. These like Starbucks things that have like 58 grams of sugar in it.
Did you think
that's fine.
And maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe the tea is actually sweet on its own.
I just bought the powder.
Yeah.
All I did was buy the powder, and that was it, and it tastes sweet.
Yeah, because I know this because my daughter, who's 14, that's all she drinks is these matcha drinks.
Right, because she has your credit card linked to her account,
Yes.
so you only find out what she purchases after the fact.
Right, and I know her taste, and she likes gigantic sugary drinks from Starbucks.
Well, she is 14.
Yes, and you are too, because apparently you were drinking this matcha bar. I'm like, wow, this is good. It's green. Green is healthy.
They make a little leaf design on it at the place next door.
You gotta get the matcha mochi ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
That obviously is sweet.
I love matcha
Rhino,
too.
but that's the jam.
I didn't realize how much caffeine was in it until I was literally sprinting down the block. Like, wow,
yeah.
I feel great.
Yeah, no. Whenever I was like, if I don't want coffee, that's usually the route if I go to Starbucks. Yeah.
Still tons of caffeine. All right, let's do a little old-fashioned contender pretender NFL style. EJ's going to throw us out a team. Perloff and I will tell you if they're Super Bowl contenders.
Okay, so let's begin with how about the Green Bay Packers? Contender, pretender.
They're my Super Bowl pick.
Me too.
Really hitting me where it hurts right now with this one. I think they're pretenders. I got to switch it up. I think the Detroit Lions, by virtue of sweeping them, and I know the games were close, the Lions just seem so much more the class of the NFC right now than the Packers. And again, this pains me. I picked them. I wish their offense was a little bit better, a little bit more consistent. And I do not think ultimately they will be in the Super Bowl, Perloff.
God, I'm 100% contender. I think they're right there with the Lions. If they see the Lions for a third time, that game is going to be so close. They have Jordan Love is great. And we know that Josh Jacobs is great. Why do you think the Lions were so scared to give the ball back to them at the end of the game? Because Love caught fire. Remember last year they stunk the first half of the season, and then they got good in the second half of the season? Then they really outplayed the Niners. I think they're a little bit better than last year, and last year they were knocking at the door. I say totally contender.
Let's stay in the NFC North. How about the Minnesota Vikings?
Man, I'm not doing it. I'm not taking the cheese here with the Vikings looking so good against the Falcons and thinking that is a reason why they're contenders. I still think that the Vikings are a great story. Sam Darnold, a good story. We obviously love the two wide receivers, and we love the defense. But, and I just said all the great things about their team. I don't think they're actual Super Bowl contenders. I think they're way more legit than 2 years ago with Kirk Cousins, but I can't put them in the Super Bowl.
Take the cheese. Nobody thinks the Vikings are contenders. Do they? Because they beat a bad Atlanta team. They really have a lot to prove against good teams. I don't think they're in the mix.
How about the AFC North? What about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I've already said this, yes. I called this weeks ago. I thought the Steelers were legit Super Bowl contenders. I think things are breaking right for them in the fact that Russ is playing well. They're even winning without George Pickens, who's obviously like their number one weapon going away. The one concern I have for the Steelers is their crazy schedule at the end of the season, but they've stacked so many wins. They're clearly in the postseason. I think they're dangerous in the postseason. This is going to be a different year for the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see them going to Kansas City and winning in the playoffs. Just because they do one thing great. They're amazing at containing running quarterbacks, which is, so you'll see Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and fourth quarter Mahomes. That is really big. But generally, though, I can't see this team being good enough to win on the road in the playoffs. I mean, unless they get the number one and bring Kansas City to Pittsburgh, it ain't happening.
A lot of people think this team is elite, but their record isn't elite. What about the Baltimore Ravens at 8-5? Are they contender or pretender?
Man, I can't get on board right now with the Ravens. I really can't. And I think it's because the defense is just not what we're used to with a Ravens defense. And I think they've been a little inconsistent lately. And look at the good teams that they've played. Listen, they destroyed my Bills 35-10. So I totally understand that. But, losing to Pittsburgh, losing to Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles, and you said it earlier, you guys kind of out-physicaled the Ravens, and we're not used to that. I say no.
I say 100% yes. You're going to, Lamar Jackson he's been trying to prove he's a pocket quarterback or something. He's going to run 15 times. No repeat of last year's AFC title game where Lamar didn't run. I think they're going to hit you with Henry, hit you with Lamar Jackson, keep that defense off the field. I'm very, very interested in them in the playoffs.
This is another team that does that 3 games in 10 days thing with the Wednesday game because they're playing on Christmas at Houston.
But we know they're going to be a wild card probably, and they're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs anyway, which is okay because they were favorite last year and didn't do anything for them.
Coming up, lots more for you from the NFL and college. And not only that, we have a person winning Time Athlete of the Year. What does it mean? Why does it matter? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
We take a break from Eagles drama for a moment and Heisman Trophy conversations and college football conversations to bring you this story, which is Caitlin Clark has won Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. Now, Caitlin Clark's won a lot of things, and this is another, prestigious award. And in it, she gives an interview to our pal Sean Gregory. And she basically head-on, talks about all the controversies that happened throughout her rookie season, or even going back to college, Perloff, and basically says, downplays them all, throws cold water on as much, owns that she knows that it's happening. She understands, everything that's being said about her, says this is not what she's about, basically echoing things that she has said in the past. But when I'm reading this article, I'm thinking we're going to get a way different season 2 of Caitlin Clark in the WNBA than we did season 1. I don't think every elbow is going to be leading Fox News and MSNBC. I don't think this is going to spill over into the political anymore. I think that was this it was like a phenomenon with her and Angel. And while they can still have a fun rivalry and a meaningful rivalry in the WNBA, I don't think we're living and dying with every Caitlin Clark elbow this year.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of heat, and I don't care about the ancient networks, like social media. Like everything Caitlin does blows up, and it could be the basketball. It could be you really think that Angel Reese is gonna not say something or do something to get attention? Like that's her jam. I mean, that sounds overly critical, but she is unbelievably fascinating person.
Definitely,
she's just really she's very entertaining. There's definitely going to be something because that people are just, there's so many clicks that come out of anything Caitlin. Okay. And I don't know why that would go. I understand the politics stuff. Yes, that'll die down, but they'll find another way because every editor knows if you put a story up about Caitlin Clark, you're going to get a million eyeballs.
Okay, but Caitlin Clark was kind of interesting because it was almost a reverse engineer. The media, the mainstream media, we were not covering the WNBA or women's college basketball on the regular. This was us, quite frankly, responding to fans. You guys wanted it. You guys were driving it. And so we're like, all right, everyone wants to talk about the WNBA now and women's college hoops. Let's do it. It's not that we didn't want to. It's just we didn't realize you guys wanted to talk women's basketball this much. And so the fans really drove this, and Caitlin in part drove this a lot. So I think that people did want the basketball side of it because of the way that Caitlin was playing. And if she doesn't want to participate in this, then I don't know how it can continue to grow. Caitlin herself doesn't want to be involved in these controversies.
Yeah, but I don't think she really wanted to be involved last year, and it still was super hot.
But she's never going to play into it. Like you're saying, Angel could have that she might say something, or you think Angel might do something to keep it going. I don't know if that's true. Angel did not give a comment to Time for this. But
I don't think Angel has any personal beef with Caitlin Clark, but something else could happen with Angel or another player. I just think there's just still a lot of. I think there's tons of heat. I don't think it ever really had anything to do with Caitlin Clark playing into it. There's just certain names that think about Tim Tebow. It wasn't just 1 year where his name meant clicks. It was a decade. Think of the Cowboys. Think of T.O. Just certain names. I just don't think it dies that fast. The other thing, too, is, I'm telling you, people are smart. They know Time's not idiots. Of course you put Caitlin Clark on the cover because people are going to buy that magazine. It might have been only a digital cover. But I would think Sports Illustrated is going to put Caitlin Clark as their sports person of the year because they know it sells. She's just... I don't know what the word is, a Q rating, she's just popular. If somebody says Caitlin Clark, you stop and say, you listen. Same with Angel Reese. And they're both awesome at basketball. It helps a lot, too.
Yeah.
I think it's all part of the mix. I do think the basketball maybe becomes a bigger part of it, but I just think all the underlying stuff, like the Magic Bird, some obviously racial
Yeah.
undertones. Like Magic Bird, like they became friends, and it still was a great rivalry. It still was a huge deal.
But it was helping that they were playing each other in the NBA Finals. Like
Right.
the basketball part of it had to become the main. Like I think it became the main thing. To
Not
be
really.
honest.
I don't think so.
But so here's the thing, though, about like Caitlyn, as far as her crossover into the mainstream. Let's not forget how quickly that stuff moves on. Sports, we kind of occupy the certain like sandbox of life that we really enjoy and we're privileged to do. But the news and the mainstream part of it, that's like whatever way the wind is blowing. Now you're talking about the guy who, the fugitive who got caught at the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania for shooting the United Healthcare CEO, allegedly. Then you're on to another political race. Then we'll be on to the midterm elections. And, the mainstream, that part of the media, the CNNs of the world or what have you, they are under a different calendar. They're under they have a different agenda. Our agenda here in sports really is to talk about everything, but mostly the sports. And I think that's why the basketball is going to be the main thing with Caitlyn, because I think the rest of the mainstream media is going to, frankly, I think they're going to move on a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like this is way too high. Like she's got a little Taylor Swift in her. Like I just think there are a lot of young fans who are going to follow her and keep following. I don't think the heat's going to die down enough. I think there's just going to be a lot of people into her. I'd honestly, I'll bet you her attendance is bananas next year.
Oh, it was this year.
Yeah.
That part of it, I think, is gonna remain. I don't know. I
don't
don't think
know,
there's
like,
she's
honestly, I
saying
don't even
there's
think
no
like-
animosity between her and other WNBA players. Like, how often does she have to say it before people believe it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like, I understand like the Fox News using her as a talking point, but I also think like if you put a Caitlin Clark layup on your Instagram feed, you're going to get, it goes crazy. Everybody sends it around. So I just think that forget like the networks, like the digital heat around her is still going to be there. I think she's going to be even a bigger deal next year. It builds, and I think it's building. And especially if that team gets good, especially if Angel Reese, like if she can, what if they met in the finals? There's going to be like, you're right, this is partly basketball. As far as the politics of it, I don't think, I don't remember Magic Bird what happened, but it was still, even after they personally ended their beef in 85, like everybody still viewed it as black versus white. Like America's going to do what it'll do regardless of what the actual actors involved want to do, right?
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
I mean, people have their agendas and what have you. EJ, what do you think? Is it going to be more Caitlyn controversy next year, or do you think she can tamper it down with the comments that she's giving here?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to come down to how the rest of the league kind of reacts, right? Because I think for a lot of folks who have been critical of Caitlyn, I think no one can disagree or have beef with anything she said in terms of her critics who were saying you should have said more. Why don't you be more forceful? I mean, she was very adamant about uplifting black women, saying there's no beef, saying she wasn't targeted. She really, and saying even the reporting, there was the issue with the columnist, and they said how that was being covered was unfair, and the questioning of my opponents was unfair. She went far. Now the question becomes, okay, what is the response from the rest of the league? Like, do we still have these people putting out tweets saying I'm getting death threats? Do we still have the folks saying, hey, there's an issue with this? I think that's really going to be the difference now. If I think the rest of the league can kind of take her lead with this and say that this is as forceful as she's been, and I think maybe she should have done this sooner, then maybe this can go away. But it's also going to be just like Perloff said, like crazy fans are just going to be crazy fans, right? Like the hope is that they kind of listen to her and say, if she's saying it, then maybe we need to put this down. And I don't know. I don't have much trust in people right now in terms of being able to do that. But that's going to be the key, I think. If the WNBA players can kind of follow her lead there, then I think this could become more of a basketball thing.
Can I ask a question that's probably a difficult question? Why does Angel Reese go in her comment section on Instagram? Why
does anybody?
Yeah, I mean,
why
like she openly complains about it a lot. Like I wonder. I'm almost like, well, put it away. Like she should not, unless they're like real death threat, unless there's security reasons.
Well, she said she had people following her.
Yeah. But I don't think that's why she goes into her Instagram comments. I don't know, like what part of her is her, like young athletes do this all the time. It's not just her. Like don't engage with critics online.
Oh, young,
it's a terrible
older
idea.
athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got it. It's really easier said than done. I mean, I guess for Angel, yes, she has to be on the lookout for real threats because she did say people have come up to her on the street. I mean, it's
reached out to her family. She said, yeah,
it's spilled over into real life where this is getting scary. Someone else could also be monitoring that, so it's like, hey, I'm on it. The security firms, the WNBA, heaven forbid, could do this also for their players. Like, hey, we're going to monitor to make sure no one's threatening women in our league. Might be not a terrible thing to ask for from the union.
I am very curious with Perloff's point. Like the Fever could be really good next year. Like they hired back.
Made the playoffs.
They made the playoffs this year. They had a really good second half. They rehired Stephanie White to be their head coach. She was one of the better head coaches in the WNBA, and of course she got fired by the Connecticut Sun. Kind of a weird thing there. Maybe this is a team that's ascending. How does the fan reaction go to that? Like if let's say the Fever are a top 4 or 5 team in the WNBA. Is it more of just like, okay, we're just talking about the basketball games, and does it become more of like, all right, how much is Caitlin winning as opposed to like how much is Caitlin being beat up? Like, I like this shift. In America, we build people up to tear them down, and if she comes in next year with expectations, like I'm wondering, like, what does that look like? What does a Caitlin Clark on a better team playoff run look like, especially if they fall? Like, it's going to be way more interesting dynamics, hopefully beyond this crap we had in year 1.
But here's the thing. The building up to tear down or to have expectations and then to, say whether or not an athlete is living up to them or not living up to them, that's sports to me.
Yep.
Like, that's a, hey, you've arrived. Like, if we're going to talk about you like we talk about Aaron Rodgers joining the Jets and expectations, then that's awesome. I think that's a good place to be.
Well, I just
the other stuff.
I'm just talking personally. I have a lot of people in my life who are not sports fans who know all about Caitlin Clark, and they don't follow sports. So I just don't. I think there's just a different thing with Caitlin Clark.
So it's more tribal, but it's just a
no,
tribe
I'm saying,
of her.
I'm saying like I just think there's a lot of heat around her. There's a lot of non-mainstream sports fans who really know a lot about Caitlin Clark. She's very fascinating to, I think, young women. Probably same with Angel Reese and a lot of WNBA stars. I just think it's kind of like there are a lot of Caitlin Clark fans. I don't think it becomes just about sports. I don't think it'll be a typical build them up, tear them down, because my 14-year-old kid knows all about Caitlin Clark, but has no idea who Patrick Mahomes is. So I just think that there's a lot around her.
Should we be worried that your daughter's not listening to the show? Because if she doesn't know Mahomes, that means...
My kids hate sports. They're both like... One's like a violinist punk rocker. The other's a theater kid. They know all about what's playing on Broadway.
Wait, is this a rebuke of you?
Probably. But no, I actually, I don't know. I'm kind of proud of them for their complete indifference.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, we talk about this, right, with kids about what do they glean from their parents? Like, Bogusch isn't in here, but he will be next segment. And like, his son is this massive sports fan, and they do all the sports stuff together. And your daughters couldn't care less.
No, they
even though you've met every athlete on the planet.
Yeah, they do not care. Actually, once in a while. Okay, last couple years ago, we went to the Super Bowl. We interviewed all these A-list athletes, and then we interviewed one kid who was in Hamilton. What was his name?
He was in Transformers, Hamilton.
He was
in
just
Into the Heights.
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos,
great.
yeah. He was just in Twisters.
Yeah.
He was in Twisters, and they were fascinated by that. They wanted every detail. Now, at Dan Patrick's show, we had a lot of celebrities and athletes. So try to guess my parents at DP show, the one interview they asked about the most. They still ask about it to this day.
I mean, Sandler was on so many times.
Yeah,
Will Ferrell was on.
You think Will Ferrell,
big,
like vice presidents, like huge. Honestly, at least 3 times a month they asked about the Alex Trebek interview. They're like, so what was he like?
Is the mustache real?
Yeah. Because a big chunk of America sits at 7 o'clock and turn on Alex Trebek. So you never know. I think Caitlin Clark is still. It doesn't feel at all weird that she's on the cover of Time magazine. Of course not. She's a big national star. So I don't think it's ever going to become just sports. I think there'll always be more. Maybe it dies down, but she's so interesting to people for whatever reason. Because also too, she's put this league on her back. Her and Angel Reese to a large degree. Like we haven't seen a league explode like this in forever. I think there's a lot going on here. I don't think it'll die down that much.
855-212-4227. We're predicting if Caitlin Clark's second season of the WNBA, is this going to be filled with all this controversy? And every time she gets, an elbow or a forearm shiver or what have you in a game, is it going to become this like national event, which it did become last year?
Yeah, or like Kennedy Carter, like saying that like people are going to say stuff about her still. Well, that I think is really interesting. EJ kind of referenced that, like
So there's another part of this, though, because like EJ, you made a good point. Are the other WNBA players going to just accept her a little bit more now? Not that they didn't, but how are they going to respond to her comments? Basically, kind of owning everything. Like, I realize that
she called herself a controversial figure. Even
like my race plays a role in some privilege. Like, I'd like to think that I earned everything, but I'm not naive. I understand that I get some. Better treatment, more opportunities or things like that. She just basically she did a great job. This league was already great, and I want to be a big part of it. All that stuff, she handled it great.
Right.
How do other women respond to her? Because there's another part of this too, and it's very, very of the now, which is there's also like value in being the foil. And I don't think that Kennedy Carter was specifically trying to be the foil or Angel, their rivalry, but there also was a value in having a foil.
Definitely.
No, for Caitlin, you need a foil.
Right. And so Angel is that, but there could be other women in the WNBA who think, I can also be the foil. It doesn't just have to be Angel and Caitlin, like woman versus woman. It could be me.
Oh, somebody else could take their shot.
Even Caitlin said, and Perloff, you say this all the time about how funny their rivalry was, considering they never guard each other.
Yeah, it's not a real rivalry. I think Caitlin talked about that in the Time article.
Too.
What was the guy who tried to get under Michael Jordan's skin and become the Jordan stopper on Washington?
The Last Dance. What was that guy? Rolando. What was his name? Not Rolando.
Anyway, I think people tried to step up to be the Jordan foil, and that didn't work out so well.
That guy, all he said was, good game, Mike. That wasn't, I forgot.
Lowell, not Lowell Hamilton from Illinois. What was this guy's name?
They used to call Gerald Woodkins the Jordan stopper. That didn't go
No, the guy from Washington who said, good game, Mike, and the Michael Jordan, just took it out on him.
Oh, was it? No, it wasn't Brian Russell.
No. It was someone.
LeBradford. I can't bring out LeBradford Smith.
LeBradford Smith.
I just love. So what you actually hinted was a good idea. Somebody at the WNBA is going to take their shot at Caitlin because they know it'll get them endorsements.
Well, I don't know if it's endorsements, but
it'll get them 100 million Instagram followers.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Sorry, just a quick tangent. Did you guys see Neil Brennan, the comedian? He was a writer on Chappelle's Show, all that stuff. He has a funny line about Michael Jordan where he said, Michael Jordan, he has a funny line about athletes. Everyone wants to have good mental health, and we should hope for all good mental health, except for athletes. Because we watched a 10-part documentary about Michael Jordan. He goes, Michael Jordan, basketball was his hobby, but his passion was revenge.
Facts.
It's like, God, he nailed it. He goes, you want someone in sports that has good mental health is called an assistant coach. Small tangent. Dennis is in Michigan. Dennis, you want to weigh on Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, I do. You guys may not remember this, but back in the 80s, of course, there was the Magic Bird thing, but there was also Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons fighting against the Celtics, and Dennis Rodman came in and said something about nobody would pay attention to Bird if he were a black player.
Yeah.
And there was a huge controversy about it. Well, then Larry Bird goes in front of the mic and said, hey, if I'm not concerned about this, nobody else should be concerned. And most people don't even remember that it even happened.
Oh, so I don't know about that. People remember that.
Not to the point that other things, So I just think that the way that Caitlin Clark has handled herself can be the way that Larry Bird handled himself, and it won't become as big as maybe what we think it will be. There will always be something, but I don't think it'll be maybe as big as we think.
Yeah, Dennis, what's funny about that? Thank you for the call. It's also interesting because Dennis Rodman made those comments, but Dennis Rodman went on to be one of the craziest people we have in sports history. You think of Dennis Rodman, 40 other things would come to mind first before you'd get to this. Like the dyed hair, marrying Carmen Electra, the wedding dress, going to North Korea.
Definitely.
The championships, obviously, the Hall of Fame. Leaving the Bulls to go to Vegas for a bender in the middle of the playoffs.
Yeah, in some ways, it lives more with Isaiah than Rodman. Rodman's one who made the comments. Isaiah was kind of like, oh, yeah, I guess he makes a good point. And then,
I was just watching a documentary. I don't remember. There's something, a documentary on this, and they actually called a midday press conference where Larry and Isaiah had to come together Imagine in the social media era, if that press conference happened, they would cut into the news. Like, it was just a long time ago. It was, what, 80, 87? 88. Anyway, that's pretty crazy that they made Larry and Isaiah sit there and talk about that. That is
Because I think they were playing.
Yeah, I know,
playoffs,
but
right?
like to sit and address this comment that someone said you're only good, you're not that good, you're white. That's an awkward press conference. I can't believe. And Larry Bird didn't even like talking in the press already. Like, how they convinced him to actually step out there. I think the commissioner got involved.
You just gave me an idea for a future great debate. Today's great debate, by the way, which happens every Wednesday on the show, is what's the biggest Heisman Trophy snub of all time? Future great debate, the most awkward sports press conferences of all time. I've got 14 that come to mind.
Dwight Howard, Stan Van Gundy.
Say Mike Piazza had to call a press conference.
That was weird.
To tell people he's straight. That was such an odd thing. We should do this one day. Go back to our great debate, of course. The biggest Heisman Trophy snubs of all time. 855-212-4227. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Can I take a small left turn?
Sure.
Back to a topic we were talking about earlier today. You see it on the rundown. I was just reading Jalen Hurts' game logs.
For fun?
Eagles quarterback. He threw the ball 34 times first game, 30 times the second game, 38, then 30. They're 2-2. He hasn't come close to throwing the ball 30 times again in a game. So the Eagles front office / coach said, this guy's not that great a quarterback. We're going to run it every single play from here on out for the rest of the season. That is the reason that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are fighting. A.J. Brown is mad because he's not getting passes because the Eagles do not think their quarterback is that good and therefore have gone to a different style. So at the end of the day, and it's working. So why should I be worried? This is not Jalen Hurts' fault. He's just not that good. This is not A.J. Brown's fault. This is a new style of football. And because the wide receiver's unhappy because they came a running team, that is not the travesty that everyone is making out on. Because I just have a bunch of, the reason I bring this up is my text thread is blowing up because I guess somebody on Fox said that the Eagles should bench Jalen Hurts. Like, this is getting crazy.
Hold on. You're saying you don't have a problem because the only reason why any of this controversy is happening in Philadelphia between the wide receiver and the quarterback is because the quarterback's not good.
Right, so they won't throw it to their top receiver anymore, so he's not getting any targets.
You have way more problems. If you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, your defense might be good. They're not that good to win with a bad quarterback. If you think you have problems with Jalen Hurts, then you got bigger problems than you could have ever anticipated. You need Jalen Hurts to be awesome to win the Super Bowl. You came within an eyelash, and he could have been MVP except for a sack fumble that won the other, was it a pick six, whatever it was in the Super Bowl, and you lost. He played great in that game. You need him to be awesome to win the whole thing.
But much like your Bills, this team is transformed by cutting 40% of their passes out and going to the run. They've just changed everything. Like, they are so much a better team when the run-pass balance is different.
Okay, well then here's another criticism I have for the Eagles. If you are going to make this big pivot, and
they
made a pivot to be a Saquon Barkley-led team, then why doesn't someone go to A.J. Brown and say, listen, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to win games. Again, I can criticize the communication here because he's going to stand up there after a win and say the passing game is broken. And then Brandon Graham is going to come out on radio and say that there's a personal beef between him and Jalen Hurts. Like, if it's all just explained away by football strategy, then you don't think A.J. Brown would understand that if they came to him and said, listen, we've got to go to the ground game here?
I don't know. In the middle of the season, the coaches are busy. They're going to go pull aside. Listen, Mr. Wide Receiver, like, you're not going to get as many targets. Like, that's not how a team works, right? Aren't they busy game planning and stuff?
I mean, just Mr. Wide Receiver.
Yeah, in the middle of the season, pull them aside, and they're not going to explain to any of the players.
Don't they have meetings all day? Aren't they in the facility all day?
Like, I know that sounds good in theory, but in reality, you really think Nick Sirianni's going to pull A.J. Brown aside and say, we have this new philosophy? And I'm sorry, maybe. And even so, A.J. Brown's a wide receiver. They don't care about anybody except themselves. That's what wide receivers do. And you need them to be like that.
Okay.
You need them to want the ball every play. So this is all very natural.
And the coach also needs to manage the egos. 855-212-4227, which I don't think is happening. Great debate today. The greatest and biggest Heisman snub of all time. Around the horn, I went with Jim Brown. Perloff went with
Vince Young.
EJ.
Adrian Peterson.
Bogusch.
Tommy Frazier.
And Manny.
Peyton Manning.
So there's only 4 slots available because Elon Musk is hamstringing us on Twitter. Jim Brown, Vince Young, Tommy Frazier, Peyton Manning, EJ, sacrificing Adrian Peterson in this one. Peyton Manning is winning. Manny not old enough to remember Peyton Manning in college. Read about it in a history book.
That almost shouldn't be allowed that he wins this.
It's all right. It's okay. Sean is in Oregon. He's got a problem with this year's Heisman race. What is it, Sean?
Well, I think a lot of times we're splitting hairs, with these guys. There's a lot of guys out there. It's a popularity contest. And I think that Colorado's real popular. I think Deion Sanders is real popular. And I hear him lobbying for Travis Hunter all the time. But there's a guy there, Ashton Genty, just out there in the middle of nowhere in a place where most of your listeners can't point it out on the map. This is kind of reminiscent of Marshall Faulk at San Diego State. And you look at Ashton Genty, he's 2,500 yards, 29 touchdowns. He's averaging over 7 yards a carry, you guys. And this is the very best year that Boise State's ever had in their school history. And nobody else can probably even name another player on that team, including their coach.
Listen, Sean, I first of all resent that fact. We're on in Boise, and we love our listeners in Boise. But here's the thing. You're saying that he's being skipped over. He has a great case for the Heisman. So does Travis Hunter. And Ashton Genty is going to be in New York. So he's not getting – and I know Marshall Faulk came in second. I get that. But he is being acknowledged by being a finalist, right? He's not being completely ignored here.
Yeah,
he's going to come in second.
Today? I mean, you guys probably haven't even watched the entire game. I know you guys out there, you guys talk about you don't watch West Coast games. You still don't. You guys don't stay up that late. You guys aren't.
Wait a
you
minute,
don't even have enough time in the day.
On a Friday night, which is when Boise played most of their games, it felt like this year, we absolutely watch Boise State. And believe me, we've asked Spencer Danielson to come on the show. So, Sean, nothing personal with us. We love Boise. Boise's been a big part of this time slot for a long time. Even go back to the DA show. Bogusch knows about that.
I think totally. I think it's a great style debate too. Do you take like this superstar all-time running back, or do you take this unique two-way player? I think at the end of the day, the uniqueness of Travis Hunter outweighs Ashton Genty's just awesomeness. Because as good as he is, he's reminiscent of Marshall Faulk, Barry Sanders. Like we've seen Ashton Genty before. We really haven't seen Travis Hunter. I think that is what Sean might not be accounting enough for, because I do think like Ashton Genty's going to come in second, so that's not like people are ignoring him.
Well, the other part too is it's not just Deion who's pushing Travis Hunter here. Every college football pundit, media person, Jim Nagy, our pal who runs the Senior Bowl, if you ask any football mind, they'll tell you how great Travis Hunter is. They'll say he's the best player in college football. It's not just Deion's, out here stumping for Travis Henry.
Yeah. But if he didn't play for Deion, then it might be different, though. That's definitely true.
I don't know.
You think if Ashton Genty was at Colorado and Deion and Mel Tucker was the coach, it'd be as easy? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, but he has the facts. Like he is averaging 7 yards a carry. He is closing in.
No, I'm saying
on the
like with Travis Hunter, it'd be as big a deal if he was at Colorado and Deion Sanders was coach at Florida State. I mean, not as if I kind of. Is that a tough question? Yeah,
sorry, I said Travis Henry. Haha.
No, I don't think he would be. I think it'd be a little different. I mean, he might win the Heisman, but his star power would be down if he wasn't connected to Deion. And he wouldn't be at Colorado if it wasn't for Deion. He'd be wherever Deion was.
I was going to say, if he wasn't connected to Deion, he'd probably be at Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah.
He's definitely not playing two ways there.
I was going to say, and maybe only playing one way, right? Like, I mean, Deion probably does get credit for being open to the idea of him playing on both sides.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches might have just been like, no, we don't do that. Like, pick one.
That's true, but I don't think it's just Deion who's out there stumping for him. He has other defenders and people who are pushing him to the front.
But I think Sean said he's super famous because of his connection to Deion. I think that's it. But there's a little bit to that. But like I agree with you. Like his football is there's nothing you can say. It's awesome.
Bogusch has headlines for us. Hi.
These headlines are sponsored by PXG Golf for high-quality, high-performance golf clubs, apparel that delivers style and comfort, premium golf balls, award-winning gloves, and more. Make it a PXG holiday for the golfer in your life. Find the PXG store near you at pxg.com. So I want to say today's poll question should be, what's better, a 12-team college football bracket or an 8-team NBA bracket? Who would pick college football? The NBA Cup Elite 8 began last night.
Caruso fights for the miss. Tips the ball to Joe. Leaps and leans for 3 straight away. Got it! Cha-ching it! Thunder money ball up the buzzer, baby! Isaiah Joe. Zay with the tray. Ring it up. Thunder 90. The Mavericks 73 at the horn.
Isaiah Joe is made for this. Matt Pinto, Thunder Radio. OKC outscored Dallas by 14 in the third to take control of their quarterfinal. They won it 118-104 with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring 39. Giannis had 37 as the Bucks fought off the Magic 114-109 in Milwaukee. The Knicks and Hawks, Warriors, and Rockets decide the other spots in Vegas tonight. Steve Kerr breaks it down perfectly.
This cup is really an interesting addition, to the season. Our guys are excited. I think in year 2, it feels like there's a little more momentum than last year. People know what it is, obviously.
What a commercial. We now know what it is.
Yeah, he sounds so bored just saying that.
The NFL just officially announced the first ever regular season game in Berlin next fall. Just the facts this time. Joe Burrow's home apparently burglarized while he was in Dallas for Monday Night Football. A 22-year-old woman called police Monday evening when entering the house and finding a broken window and ransacked bedroom. There's been no comment from Burrow or the Bengals yet. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, victims of break-ins earlier this season while playing for the Chiefs.
Did you see also no fingerprints? They got nothing.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wearing gloves?
Yeah. Or just like apparently they showed some skill.
And we should point out, or I should point out, that the original Burrow girlfriend might not have been his girlfriend for months now.
Right.
So the salacious side of the story probably is losing steam by the minute.
Right. The fact that Joe Burrow may have been stepping out on a long-term girlfriend may not have been the case, and throws a lot of cold water on EJ's theory of him dating 2 women named Olivia to make his life easier.
Yeah, he was seen with this woman, Olivia Ponton, at the Fashion Week when he had the hole in the back of his suit. So they've been dating maybe for 6 months. But I told Maggie something interesting. He's also been linked to this OnlyFans woman named Baby Doll. Didn't see that one coming, did you?
Who hasn't?
No. So we're going in a different direction.
He's been linked to this influencer and to an OnlyFans star. But I don't know. Is OnlyFans mean you have to be an adult star? Can you be OnlyFans and not keep your clothes on?
Anybody can be an OnlyFans. You could just do whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know if that sounds bad, but maybe it's just another influencer.
What do you think she's doing on that channel?
I think she's
her
more
makeup?
on the,
Well, I think women do things that, like, you could probably put your feet on OnlyFans, Maggie, and you'd be an OnlyFans star.
I know, but I don't think the camera's wide enough to get my plank feet.
God, if I had a body part anyone wanted to see.
You guys forget I'm walking around on skis here.
Well, we'll just take it from a distance. If you back the camera up,
Panoramic.
yeah, we can get both feet in
Whatever
at some
they
point.
shoot the Grand Canyon with, that's what they need for my feet. We've talked about this before.
that's how we get our Christmas bonuses.
My feet page. Listen, if anyone's into, the Big and Tall store, but it's more for feet. I told you.
Long and wide? What are you talking about?
I have great balance. Because my feet are so
Believe it.
Windy day in New York coming up here today, so you'll be safe.
Yeah. I can just walk.
Hold on to Maggie.
I walk down double black diamonds. Just do.
Let me introduce us now to Ohio State Rep Josh Williams. He's apparently introducing legislation that would make it a felony to plant a flag at midfield of the shoe. That'll definitely teach those Wolverines.
That's felony, huh?
Yeah, felony.
Oh, wow.
Not, hey, Ryan Day beat Michigan. Let's plan for the next time somebody else wins here and plants a flag that they go to jail.
I know nothing about this guy's platform other than this. Vote this man out of office immediately. He can say free ice cream for everybody. I still say vote him out.
Also, I mean, a little late to the party. Where was he when Baker Mayfield pulled this shenanigans back in 2018?
Right, exactly.
Where was your well, maybe he wasn't in office, but still, where was your letter writing campaign? Now you're just Mr. Johnny Come Lately
Isn't
on this
it
trying to bandwagon.
Another do-nothing politician.
I'm just curious, like, misdemeanor, maybe. Felony seems a bit strong. So, does he have to register when he comes into the game as a flag offender?
He can't play.
He has to tell his neighbors.
Yeah, can't vote.
I tell the referee.
Or it's just like there's like a 30 for 30 later, and he's walking in with an orange jumpsuit.
You know how hard it would be for somebody from Michigan to be actually arrested for planting a flag? They would be a hero in Michigan. Are you kidding me?
Extradited to Michigan.
those freaking mugshot pictures of that, whoever this person is, like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You'd make this guy an icon.
It's so dumb. This is politicians. Stay out of our sports. Back to you.
Not only that, I mean, show a little confidence in your Buckeyes. Basically, is he thinking that this is going to continue?
Yeah.
That's not good for Ryan Day, that the politicians are already planning for you to lose to Michigan next year. Or 2 years from now.
2 years, yeah. 8 years, $218 million. That's how the Yankees land former Braves lefty Max Fried. The Nationals won the draft lottery yesterday. They'll pick first for the first time since taking Bryce Harper, but there is no one like that in this draft. The LA Kings on a 6-game win streak after a 3-1 victory at the Islanders, and the Oilers have won 6 of 7 after a 2-1 victory over the Lightning. Last thing from me, something special for the two of you specifically, the New York Red Bulls of MLS just announcing a naming rights deal with Sports Illustrated ticketing. So the Jersey venue will be called Sports Illustrated Stadium for the next 13 years.
No way.
100%.
That's great. Listen, Perloff and I, by Bogusch, said that's close to us. We both worked at Sports Illustrated. It's where we met several years ago and became friends. But SI should have been pimping their name out long before this. I think they could have had a swimsuit line. They could have had all these things. I loved working there, and it was great. But I think they could have added more to the brand.
Yeah,
naming a stadium.
No comment.
That's not embarrassing.
I don't know. No, it's not embarrassing at all. But it's a little too late.
Oh, well. Okay. Maybe I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I just, right now, I have not a great opinion of that brand. That's all I'll say.
This could, imagine though, in the heyday, if this, not the heyday of like the 60s, 70s, I'm talking about like in the 2000s even.
Well, right, but they used to be journalists where like they couldn't put their name on a stadium because they had to cover this stadium.
I'm going to be honest. I went to many a Sports Illustrated party before I worked for Sports Illustrated and while I did, and what's the difference? They put their name all over Super Bowl parties and stuff like that.
Right, but it's supposed to be neutral. Like they're not picking one side or the other.
Oh, yeah. Because like now they'd be Red Bull supporters?
Yeah. I hope. I mean, they named the stadium after them. Like how, yeah.
I guess I never thought of that. I never thought that the company Staples was all rooting for the Lakers or the Clippers. I just assumed they just wanted their name on a stadium.
Well, I guess, not to overthink this, that Staples is not Sports Illustrated. They have different business standards. Like it's okay if Staples owns a window because who cares if they're compromised?
They provide paper to the Clippers and the Blazers.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, SI obviously, like they used to be about like a lot of reporting and stuff. Now, I don't think that's really their jam anymore.
I thought they could have been sports camps and stuff like that. Like I went to Nike tennis camps. I could have been going to a Sports Illustrated tennis camp. No?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
but like this
definitely.
is the home of like Frank DeFord, and like the great Sports Illustrated stuff was not, hey, let's write this amazing story, not let's sponsor a tennis camp.
Hey, listen, revenue streams. Got to diversify. 855-212-4227. Bogusch, thanks a lot. Coming up, lots more to do, including checking in with the most interesting man in sports.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Okay, so this would be an all-time moment, even for LeBron James. And I know a lot of football's happening, but we got to pause for a second to talk about LeBron because the Lakers season got off to a pretty good start. Seems like J.J. Redick was going to be a good hire. And then lately, Perloff, things have just kind of fallen off the rails. They've really come back to the middle of the pack. You know, it's early in the season, but it just doesn't feel like things are gelling together or coming together in a really good way. So here's Kendrick Perkins, who is on ESPN, saying the Lakers are open to trading LeBron James.
I'm going to tell you this, and Brian Windhorst was on, Wendy, my guy, was on that segment, and he was talking about telling Wilborn how hard it was and what it is, okay? Now, my sources tell me that if LeBron James at any point comes out and says that he wants to be traded or he wants to entertain it, that they're going to entertain it.
Okay, so this was a response to Michael Wilbon saying that he thinks LeBron should go to the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors. Now, here's more from Kendrick Perkins talking about last season, if you remember. At the trade deadline, the Warriors called the Lakers to inquire about LeBron's availability, and Rich Paul, his agent, nipped it in the bud. So what
it ain't no
this year?
holding him back. Meaning, last year, okay, so last year, Rich Paul stopped it. Let's remember now what ended up happening when Golden State called asking about LeBron. Rich Paul, his agent, silenced all that. Yes. If LeBron and they get to this conversation again, I'm hearing Rich Paul ain't getting it.
Okay, so an all-time LeBron move. If he re-signs with the Lakers, has them draft his son, hires a podcast partner in JJ Redick, and then a couple months later is like, actually, I'm out.
But that'd be amazing. But I don't understand, like, what are the Warriors giving up for LeBron? Like, what are the Lakers getting out of this? Like, is it just a favor? Like, there's no way they're giving up a good player for LeBron, like a foundational piece. They're not giving up Jonathan Kuminga for LeBron, are they?
I don't think so.
Definitely.
You think so?
I think at this point, I mean, would it be silly? I don't know if it'd be silly. I think LeBron still has a lot left in the tank, but I think definitely they're getting LeBron out of there. Steph Curry's saying, young man, someone's got to be like, it's that scene in the the Dark Knight when the guy's like, somebody has to be left in the wreckage. When Bane says that.
I mean, Jonathan
Kuminga. Look, Steph Curry's like 38. Kuminga is a young man to him. Somebody's gonna be left in the wreckage. It's gonna be one of these young guys.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, Prof. If LeBron James goes to the Golden State Warriors, this thing has been in the works since Paris.
Well,
since they were all together at the Olympics, no doubt.
I just hear you. I don't understand, like, why are the Lakers, like, how the as you mentioned, they drafted his son, they signed his coach. Like, why would they agree to trade him? Like, just because he wants to?
I don't know. I mean, maybe because LeBron's shadow runs the Lakers. Maybe because the Lakers are overly bend over backwards for their stars to make sure they keep good relationships with them.
But the question is, like, why would leaves? Yeah, but then the question is, why would they have considered it last year?
I think they thought they maybe had a chance last year. I don't know. Not a chance at the title, but a chance to be a playoff team. I mean, they were trying to manipulate where they were in the play-in tournament to try to get the more favorable draw. That backfired. Ray, you've got a Laker sweatshirt on today. LeBron James, in or out?
He's in. He's just doing what he usually does mid-season to get us to talk about him. I want to be traded. No, I want to stay. I love the Lakers. Then he'll go in the crowd and hug Jeannie Buss again, and it'll be National Women's Day again, and we'll be back here again. We all fall for the banana in the tailpipe every time with the king. This is just the latest episode.
I mean, it's the best explanation I've heard. This is the LeBron trying to get a little, I don't know, just get in the news.
Ray, if they called up, you run the Lakers, they offered Jonathan Kuminga for LeBron and Bronny. Are you doing it?
Jonathan Kuminga, as long as they promise to not send Bronny back, we can take the deal.
So is actually,
Bronny, no thanks.
Would you give up LeBron just to get rid of Bronny?
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Bronny takes the shrapnel.
Now, wasn't it, and now my memory's failing me, but I know Bronny worked out with the Suns. The Warriors, didn't they want him to work out with them? And then Rich Paul also kiboshed that too, I believe.
I don't remember, but I thought the Suns felt like a favor. They were trying to also hit everything that was close to L.A.
Well, there was a report, by the way, that Anthony Irwin, who we've had on Lakers Reporter, said that Bronny and LeBron are a package deal. Like, they're not going to leave Bronny behind because that'd be bad. Like, he'd be sitting there on the bench and everybody be staring at him like, oh. Can you imagine Bronny sitting there in a Lakers uniform while LeBron's not there?
No, and this was my fear for Bronny once LeBron retires.
Yeah.
Now what?
G League, baby.
I mean, he's going to do that. I think he'll probably just say, all right, it's been real, everybody.
Put the fries in the bag, Bronny.
This all sounded like a joke to me. Like, this is no way this is happening. You're right. LeBron just, but man, if they're really offering a Jonathan Kuminga for LeBron, good riddance, like immediately.
The Lakers have to take it.
The Lakers, like, that's a good player. Like, you're right. You start off, the Lakers aren't going anywhere as currently constituted.
That ship sailed. Sorry, Ray, a while ago. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, E.J. Stewart, Ray Jarvis, Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, David Samson, former president of the Marlins, who joined us. The Weedos, the coffee drinkers, you know who you are. Back tomorrow with a fun show for you. Don't miss it. MMP.